She took her only son to her friend's wedding, only to see her billionaire CEO ex, the son's father, marrying the same friend. "Mom, can I have one of those fancy cookies?" Her 6-year-old son, Henry, tugged at her sleeve. She glanced at the dessert table being prepped near the far wall. "After I finish setting up, baby, stay close, okay?" Henry nodded, his dark curls bouncing. He clutched his tablet like a lifeline, already bored but trying to be good. Madison's chest tightened with guilt. Dragging him to a work gig wasn't ideal, but childcare had fallen through last minute, and this job paid too well to decline. The Riverside Grand Hotel smelled like money and roses. Madison Carter adjusted the strap of her camera bag, her pulse steady despite the chaos of pre-ceremony activity swirling around her. White orchids spilled from crystal vases, golden light cascaded through chandeliers that probably cost more than her car. A string quartet tuned their instruments in the corner, their notes blending with the murmur of arriving guests. Just another Saturday, just another wedding. The wedding planner, a sharp woman named Diane, rushed past with a clipboard. "Madison, I need behind-the-scenes shots of the floral arrangements before guests start filing in. And don't forget the detail shots of the ring-bearer's pillow, it's custom Vera Wang." "On it." Madison lifted her camera, framing a close-up of ivory peonies threaded with eucalyptus. Through her viewfinder, everything looked perfect, controlled, beautiful. She had no idea her world was about to detonate. The ceremony space filled quickly. Chicago's elite in tailored suits and designer gowns. Laughter, champagne flutes clinking, the rustle of expensive fabric. Madison kept to the edges, invisible behind her lens. That's how she preferred it, observing, capturing, never seen. Henry stayed near the back wall, headphones on, absorbed in his game, safe, quiet. The processional music began. Canon in D, predictable, timeless. Guests rose. Madison repositioned herself in the back corner, telephoto lens ready. The groom would enter first, then the bridal party, then... Her breath stopped. The man walking down the aisle wasn't just any groom. It was Ethan Blackwell. Ethan. The camera nearly slipped from her numb fingers. 6 years collapsed into seconds. The sharp line of his jaw, the way he carried himself, confident, untouchable. That same charcoal suit style he always preferred, perfectly tailored, no wasted fabric. Her heart slammed against her ribs. No. Not here. Not him. She backed toward the exit, but her feet wouldn't cooperate. Her hands shook. The lens blurred. Ethan took his place at the altar, hands clasped, face calm. He looked older, more controlled. The boy she'd loved had hardened into someone else entirely. Or maybe he'd always been this, and she'd just refused to see it. The bridal march swelled, doors opened, and Madison's world fractured beyond repair. The bride appeared in a cascade of silk and lace, her veil trailing like a ghost. Blonde hair swept into an elegant twist, a smile so radiant it could sell magazines. Claire Donovan, Madison's best friend. Her stomach turned to ice. Claire's eyes swept the room, practiced, poised, and landed directly on Madison. For a heartbeat, the smile faltered, just a flicker, a crack in the porcelain mask. Then it was back, dazzling and perfect, as if Madison were a shadow that didn't matter. Henry's voice cut through the haze. "Mom." She couldn't answer, couldn't breathe. "Mom." Louder now, insistent. Madison looked down. Her son's wide hazel eyes stared up at her, then shifted to the man at the altar. Henry's voice, innocent and devastating, rang out in the sudden quiet as guests settled into their seats. "That's him, isn't it? That's my daddy?" The words detonated like a grenade. Heads turned, whispers ignited. Madison's camera slipped from her fingers, the strap catching at the last second, the lens clattering against her chest. Ethan's head snapped toward the sound. Their eyes met across the room. Recognition hit him like a freight train. His face drained of color. His mouth opened, but no sound came. He took half a step forward, then froze, his gaze dropping to the boy beside her. Henry. Dark curls, Ethan's hazel eyes, the same stubborn set to his jaw. Ethan's expression shattered. At the altar, Claire's perfectly manicured hand clenched her bouquet so tight the stems bent. Her eyes darted between Madison, Henry, and Ethan, panic flashing beneath the flawless makeup. A woman in the third row leaned toward her companion, voice low but sharp enough to carry. "Wait, isn't that the woman?" Claire said, "destroyed Ethan years ago." Another voice, quieter but crueler. "She brought a child?" The officiant cleared his throat, trying to salvage the moment. "Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll please." But Ethan wasn't listening. He was staring at Madison like she was a ghost he'd never stopped mourning. And Madison wanted to run, to grab Henry and vanish into the same shadows she'd hidden in for 6 years. But her feet stayed rooted. Her son's hand slipped into hers, small and warm and trusting. Claire's voice, strained and brittle, broke the silence. "Ethan, look at me." But he didn't. And just then, the string quartet faltered. A violinist missed a note. Madison's pulse roared in her ears. Every eye in the room was on her now. Phones emerging from pockets, the soft click of camera shutters. She'd come here to do a job, capture someone else's love story. Instead, she'd walked straight into the wreckage of her own. Henry tugged her hand. "Mom, why is everyone staring?" She didn't have an answer. Across the ballroom, Ethan took another step forward, his polished composure cracking. His mouth formed her name, but no sound came out. Claire's hand shot out, gripping his arm. Her smile was gone now, replaced by something raw and desperate. "Ethan, please, not here, not now." But it was too late. The truth had already detonated, and there was no taking it back. She thought she was just working another wedding, another paycheck, another chance to stay invisible behind the lens. But the groom standing at that altar, he was the man she'd run from 6 years ago, the man who'd never known he had a son. And the bride? The bride was the very friend who'd convinced her to leave. But how did we even get here? How did a simple wedding gig turn into the moment that would blow apart 3 lives? And what happens when a man discovers he has a son while standing at the altar, about to marry someone else? Well, quickly hit that subscribe button and tell us what time and country you're watching from. It makes me know it's real people, real family members, watching my stories, and I feel closer to you as a family while narrating these stories. Comment, present, if you're here with us today. And please, please don't leave our story in the middle. It hurts our family's growth when you do so. Now, get comfortable and let me take you back to how Madison Carter's story began on that sunny Tuesday morning, 6 years earlier. The Blackwell Industries Tower was a glass monument to ambition, gleaming against the night sky like a challenge. Most of the floors sat dark and empty. Smart people had gone home hours ago. Madison Carter was not feeling particularly smart. She juggled an overstuffed presentation binder, her laptop bag, and a lukewarm coffee as she shouldered open the door to conference room 4B. Except the placard on the wall read 4C. "Damn it," she muttered, backtracking into the hallway. She'd been prepping for this pitch for 3 weeks, her first major solo presentation since joining the marketing firm. The Hendricks account could make her career, or break it. She found the right room 2 doors down, flicked on the lights, and exhaled. Sleek glass table. Projector already set up. Perfect. She dropped her materials on the table and started connecting cables, her mind running through her opening slide. Confident, but not cocky. Data-driven, but human. She could do this. The door swung open behind her. "I need the quarterly reports on my desk in 10 minutes. Madison didn't turn around. "Do I look like your assistant?" Silence. She glanced over her shoulder. The man standing in the doorway was tall, mid-30s, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her rent. Dark hair, sharp jawline, and an expression that suggested he wasn't used to being contradicted. He blinked. "Excuse me?" Madison straightened, crossing her arms. "You just walked in here, didn't even look at me, and started barking orders. So, I'll ask again, do I look like your assistant?" His eyes narrowed, reassessing. "This is the executive floor. You're not supposed to be here. Neither are you. This room was booked for the Hendricks pitch." He stepped inside, letting the door close behind him. The Hendricks pitch is tomorrow at 9. This is conference room 4C, the executive briefing room. Madison's confidence wavered. She glanced at the door placard. 4C. She'd gone to the wrong room. Again. Heat crept up her neck. Well, that's embarrassing. His mouth twitched. Almost a smile. Almost. Happens more than you'd think. This building's a maze. She started gathering her materials, cheeks burning. I'll get out of your way. Wait. He moved closer, his gaze landing on the presentation binder. Hendricks Medical Group? Yeah. Why? I'm familiar with their operations. They're tough to crack. Conservative leadership. They don't trust flashy campaigns. Madison bristled. Good thing mine isn't flashy. No. He picked up one of her mock-up boards, a clean, data-focused layout with patient testimonials woven throughout. He studied it longer than she expected. Emotional anchor points without being manipulative. Smart. She wasn't sure if he was complimenting her or cataloging her strategy for future use. Thanks, I think. He set the board down, his attention shifting to her wrist. That's a vintage Timex Marlin. 1,970 seconds? Madison glanced at her watch, surprised. 1,968. My grandfather's. Well, you don't see those much anymore. Most people wear smartwatches now. Most people don't care about things that last. The words came out sharper than she intended. His eyes met hers. Something flickered there, amusement maybe. Or respect. Are you always this direct? Only when someone mistakes me for the help. This time, he did smile. Small but real. Fair enough. He turned toward the door, then paused. Your pitch. Lead with the ROI projections, not the patient stories. Hendricks' CFO makes the final call, and he only speaks in numbers. Hook him first, then bring in the heart. Madison frowned. How do you know? I consult for them occasionally. Trust me. Before she could respond, he was gone. She stood there, presentation materials scattered, heart beating faster than it should. She didn't even know his name. 3 weeks later, the coffee shop on Wacker Drive had become Madison's refuge between client meetings, quiet enough to think, close enough to the office to justify the expense. She was deep into revising a campaign proposal when a familiar voice cut through her focus. Caramel macchiato, extra shot, no whip. She looked up. The man from the conference room stood 2 feet away, waiting for his drink. He hadn't noticed her yet. Madison's pulse kicked up. She told herself it was annoyance. That was a lie. The barista called his name. Ethan! Ethan, she repeated. That name. Could it be? Of course. Ethan Blackwell, CEO of Blackwell Industries. The man whose building she'd accidentally invaded at 11 o'clock at night. She should have recognized him. But exhaustion and embarrassment had blurred the details. He grabbed his coffee, turned and saw her. Recognition lit his face. Conference room girl. Madison, she corrected. And I have a last name too. Do you? He slid into the seat across from her without asking. How'd the Hendricks pitch go? She tried not to smile. Failed. We got the account. Good. Did you lead with ROI? I did. You were right. Their CFO ate it up. Ethan leaned back, looking absurdly pleased with himself. I'm rarely wrong. That must be exhausting for everyone around you. He laughed, real and unexpected. You have no idea. They talked for an hour. Then 2. Madison's next meeting came and went, forgotten. Ethan's assistant called 3 times. He ignored it. They debated campaign strategies, argued about the ethics of emotional marketing, and discovered they'd both lived in Boston as kids. Different neighborhoods, different worlds, but the same gray winters. When Madison finally checked her phone, it was nearly 4 o'clock. I have to go, she said, standing reluctantly. Some of us have actual work to do. Ethan rose with her. I'm going to pretend that wasn't a dig at my work ethic. Pretend whatever you want. She turned to leave. His voice stopped her. Madison. She glanced back. Same time next week? Her heart did something complicated. You're assuming I'll be here. I am. She shouldn't say yes. He was a CEO, she was a junior strategist. This was a bad idea, wrapped in expensive coffee and dangerous charm. Maybe, she said. His smile was slow and devastating. I'll take it. 8 weeks went by. They kept meeting. Coffee turned into lunch. Lunch turned into late-night work sessions at his office, where Madison would challenge his assumptions and he'd push her ideas further than she thought possible. He noticed everything, the way she organized her notes with color-coded post-its, the fact that she always ordered Thai food when she was stressed, that she quoted her grandfather more than anyone else in her life. One night, after a brutal strategy session, he asked why. Madison hesitated. They were sitting on the floor of his office, takeout containers scattered between them, the city glittering 40 stories below. My dad left when I was 8, she said quietly. Just walked out one morning and never came back. My mom waited for 2 years, thinking he'd come home. He didn't. Ethan's expression shifted. Softer. I'm sorry. Don't be. It taught me something. She met his gaze. I swore I'd never wait around for someone who chose something else over me. Work, freedom, whatever. If someone wants to be there, they show up. The words hung between them. Ethan's jaw tightened. What if they're trying? What if they're building something so the people they love never have to worry? Then they better make sure those people know it, Madison said, because good intentions don't keep you warm at night. Silence settled, heavy and complicated. Ethan reached across the space between them. His hand covered hers. I'm here, he said. Right now. I'm here. Madison's breath caught. For the first time in years, she let herself believe it. And that's how it started. Not with fireworks, not with grand gestures. Just 2 people in a coffee shop. 2 people who saw each other when the rest of the world looked away. She didn't know then that right now wouldn't be enough. That the man who noticed everything would somehow miss the most important thing of all. But that comes later. For now, for a few golden months, they were happy. 3 months in. Madison's apartment smelled like burnt garlic and regret. Ethan stood at her stove, sleeves rolled up, hair falling into his eyes as he stared at the smoking pan with genuine confusion. I followed the recipe exactly, he insisted. Madison leaned against the counter, trying not to laugh. You were supposed to saute the garlic, not incinerate it. The instructions said high heat, medium high. There's a difference. He looked at her, helpless and endearing in a way that made her chest ache. I'm better with spreadsheets than skillets. She crossed to him, took the spatula from his hand, and turned off the burner. Why are you doing this? She asked. Well, because you had a terrible day. That client ripped apart your presentation, and you came home looking like you wanted to set the world on fire. He gestured at the ruined pan. I thought I'd try to make your favorite. Turns out I'm the one setting things on fire. Madison's throat tightened. She'd mentioned her favorite meal exactly once weeks ago, in passing. He'd remembered. You're an idiot, she said softly. I'm aware. She kissed him, slow and deep, tasting like forgiveness and something dangerously close to love. When they pulled apart, Ethan's forehead rested against hers. I ordered Thai food 15 minutes ago. It should be here soon. You're a terrible cook and a genius. Well, I contain multitudes, he responded with a slight smile. They ate takeout on her couch, her feet in his lap, laughing about the disaster in her kitchen. For those few hours, the world outside didn't exist. Just them. Just this. 5 months in. Ethan forgot to eat when he worked. Madison noticed it early how he'd get so absorbed in quarterly projections or investor calls that entire meals would slip past unnoticed. So she started showing up. Thursday afternoon, she walked into Blackwell Industries with a brown paper bag and enough confidence to bluff past security. His assistant looked up, surprised. Miss Carter, he's in a conference call. I'll wait. She didn't wait long. The meeting ended, and Ethan emerged looking exhausted, his eyes lit when he saw her. What are you doing here? She held up the bag. Saving you from yourself. They ate lunch in his office. Turkey sandwiches, salt and vinegar chips, and bottles of sparkling water. Nothing fancy. But Ethan looked at her like she'd brought him something priceless. "You didn't have to do this," he said. "I know." He reached across the desk, fingers brushing hers. "Thank you." Madison smiled. "Don't make it a habit. I have my own work to do." Noted. But she came back the next Thursday, and the one after that. It became their thing. 6 months in. The beach at Lake Michigan stretched endless and silver under the moonlight. Madison sat beside Ethan on a blanket, her jacket pulled tight against the late September chill. They'd driven up on a whim, his idea, her spontaneity. No plan, no schedule, just a weekend to breathe. "Tell me something you've never told anyone," Ethan said. She glanced at him. "That's a dangerous question." "I know." Madison thought for a moment. "I wanted to be a photographer. Before marketing. I loved capturing moments people didn't know mattered until they saw them frozen in time." She paused. "But it didn't pay, so I pivoted. Do you regret it?" "Sometimes. Late at night when I can't sleep, I wonder what would have happened if I'd been braver." Ethan's hand found hers. "You're the bravest person I know. You don't know enough people." He laughed quietly. "Maybe." They stayed there until dawn, talking about childhood scars and impossible dreams and the versions of themselves they'd left behind to become who they were now. When the sun rose, Ethan pulled a Polaroid camera from his bag. "Smile," he said. Madison did. Later, she found that photo tucked in his wallet. Not saved on his phone where it could be deleted or lost. In his wallet. Physical. Permanent. Like he wanted to carry her with him everywhere. 7 months in, the cracks started small. A missed dinner reservation on a Tuesday. Ethan called 20 minutes late, voice tight with apology. "I'm so sorry, the merger meeting ran over. I'm leaving now." Madison waited at the restaurant. He arrived an hour later, tie loosened, guilt written across his face. "It's okay," she said. And it was. That time. The second missed reservation hurt more. Friday night. Their favorite Italian place. She sat alone for 45 minutes before his text came through. "Emergency board meeting. I can't get out of it. I'm sorry. I'll make it up to you." She went home and ate cereal for dinner. The third time, she stopped making reservations. Phone calls started interrupting, mid-conversation, mid-kiss, mid-everything. Ethan would glance at the screen, apology already forming. "I have to take this." "I know." He always came back, always apologized, but the interruptions piled up like debts he couldn't repay. "I'll be home by 8, became 9, then 10, then midnight. Madison would lie awake, listening for his car in the driveway. When headlights finally swept across the bedroom wall at 2 in the morning, relief and resentment tangled so tightly she couldn't separate them. He'd slip into bed, smelling like coffee and conference rooms, and pull her close. "I'm sorry," he'd whisper. She'd pretend to be asleep. But Ethan tried. God, he tried. Handwritten notes appeared on her bathroom mirror. "You're extraordinary. See you tonight." E. Her favorite Thai takeout would arrive at her door exactly when she got home from work, still warm, with a note. "Thought you might need this." He booked a weekend trip to Napa. Vineyard tours, 5-star dining, no phones allowed. Then cancelled 3 days before. "Investor crisis. I can't leave. I'm so sorry." Madison said it was fine. It wasn't. But he never forgot the important things. Her birthday came with breakfast in bed and a first-edition copy of her favorite novel. Their 6-month anniversary earned a handwritten letter she still kept in her nightstand. The day she landed her first major solo account, he left work early and took her to the pier, where they rode the Ferris wheel like teenagers. He was trying. It just wasn't enough. 8 months in. Girls' night at Madison's apartment. Wine, takeout, and terrible reality TV. Claire Donovan sprawled across the couch, blonde hair spilling over the armrest, laughing at something ridiculous on screen. Madison had known Claire since college roommates turned best friends. The kind of friendship built on late-night confessions and shared survival. "So," Claire said during a commercial break, refilling her wine glass. "How's the billionaire boyfriend?" Madison winced. "He's not a billionaire." "Close enough. How is he?" "Busy." Claire's eyes sharpened. Busy how? Work. Always work. He missed dinner again last week. Again. Madison shrugged, trying to keep her voice light. It's fine. He's building something important. Maddie. Claire sat up, her expression soft with concern. You're allowed to be upset. I'm not upset. You're drinking wine at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday and pretending you're not hurt. That's upset. Madison looked away. At least he tries. He leaves notes. He sends food. He remembers things. Claire's gaze drifted to the designer handbag sitting by Madison's door, Ethan's apology gift for the cancelled Napa trip. Her fingers traced the rim of her wine glass. Yeah, Claire said quietly. At least he tries. Something in her voice made Madison look up, but Claire was smiling again, bright and familiar. My last 3 boyfriends didn't even remember my birthday, Claire continued. You've got a good one, even if he's drowning in spreadsheets. Madison forced a smile. Yeah, I do. Later, after Claire left, Madison found her phone open to Ethan's business profile. Articles about Blackwell Industries' expansion, photos from charity galas. She told herself Claire was just curious. But the questions lingered. How late does he usually work? Does he travel a lot? What's his schedule like on weekends? Innocent questions. Probably. Madison pushed the unease aside and went to bed. Ethan's side was empty. Again. Love doesn't collapse all at once. It fractures in tiny, invisible ways. Missed dinners, interrupted conversations, promises that bend under the weight of reality. Madison wanted to believe trying was enough, but wanting something doesn't make it true. And the cracks? They were about to become canyons. My beautiful family, have you ever loved someone who gave you everything except their time? Drop a comment and tell me, is love enough when presence is missing? And if this story is hitting home, show me some love with that like button. 9 months in, Claire's texts came more frequently now. How are you holding up? Did he make it home for dinner tonight? You deserve better than crumbs, Maddie. Madison stared at her phone, sitting alone in a restaurant where Ethan was supposed to meet her 30 minutes ago. Her water glass had been refilled twice. The waiter's sympathetic glances were getting harder to ignore. Her phone buzzed. Not Ethan. Claire. Still waiting? Madison's fingers hovered over the keyboard. She shouldn't respond. Shouldn't feed into the frustration building in her chest. Yeah. 3 dots appeared immediately. You're not being dramatic, Maddie. Your feelings are valid. Something in Madison's chest loosened. Just slightly. Just enough to let the hurt breathe. I feel like I'm always waiting. Because you are. And any woman would feel neglected in your position. Madison looked up as the waiter approached again. She ordered an appetizer she didn't want, just to justify staying. Ethan arrived 20 minutes later, rushed and apologetic. The call went long. I couldn't. It's fine, Madison said. It wasn't. She smiled through dinner, laughed at his stories, touched his hand across the table, but something had shifted. Claire's words echoed louder than his apologies. Any woman would feel neglected. 10 months in, girls' night became therapy sessions. Madison and Claire sat on opposite ends of Claire's pristine white couch, wine glasses in hand. Outside, Chicago's October rain battered the windows. He sent flowers to my office today, Madison said, gesturing to the arrangement sitting on Claire's counter. Roses. 2 dozen. Expensive. Claire's expression was carefully neutral. That's nice. It's the 3rd time this month. Claire smirked. Gilt flowers. Madison frowned. What? Claire swirled her wine. Remember when Jake used to do that? Send gifts instead of showing up? Flowers, jewelry, weekend trips he'd cancel last minute. Her voice went quiet. Turned out he was sleeping with his assistant. Ethan's not cheating. I didn't say he was. Claire looked at her. But my therapist told me something once. She said when someone consistently chooses work over you, it's a statement about priorities. Actions matter more than words. Madison's throat tightened. He's building something. The company. We'll always need him more than you do. That's how men like that operate. Claire reached over, squeezing Madison's hand. I'm not saying he's a bad person. I'm saying you have to protect yourself. How? Claire's smile was sad and knowing. Stop making it so easy for him. 11 months in, Madison started testing the advice in small ways. When Ethan called during girls' night, she let it go to voicemail. Maybe don't answer, Claire had said. Let him wonder where you are. Let him feel what it's like to wait. Ethan called again 10 minutes later, then texted, "Everything okay? Just wanted to hear your voice." Guilt twisted in Madison's stomach, but she ignored it. Claire was right. He needed to understand what this felt like. She texted back 2 hours later. Fine. Phone was on silent. His response came immediately. "I miss you." She didn't reply. The next morning, he showed up at her apartment with coffee and croissants, concern etched across his face. "You scared me," he said. "You never ignore my calls." "I was busy." "Doing what?" "Living my life, Ethan. You don't get to track me every second." The sharpness in her voice surprised them both. He stepped back, hurt flickering across his features. "I wasn't trying to—" "I know. I'm sorry." She softened, pulling him into a hug. "It's been a long week." He held her tight. "I'm sorry I haven't been around enough." "See," Claire's voice whispered in her mind. "He knows. He just doesn't care enough to change." A week later, Ethan gave her a bracelet. White gold, delicate, clearly expensive. Madison held it in her hands, feeling nothing. "You don't like it," Ethan said, reading her face. "It's beautiful. But you don't like it." She set it on the table between them. "If you really knew me, you'd know I hate flashy jewelry." "It's not flashy. It's elegant. It's a band-aid." The words came out harder than she intended. "You can't fix us with gifts." Ethan's jaw tightened. "I'm trying, Madison." "Are you?" "Because from where I'm sitting, you're just throwing money at the problem and hoping it goes away." He stared at her like she'd slapped him. "That's not fair." Maybe it wasn't. But Claire's voice was louder now. "Return it. Make him understand consequences." Madison picked up the box, handed it back to him. "I don't want it." Ethan took it, expression unreadable. He left without another word. She texted Claire, "I returned the bracelet." "Good. You're learning." Madison should have felt empowered. Instead, she felt hollow. 12 months in, the distance between them grew in inches that felt like miles. Madison stopped leaving little notes in his briefcase, stopped surprising him with lunch, stopped asking about his day because the answer was always the same. "Busy. Exhausting. I'll tell you later." Later never came. Ethan noticed. Of course he did. "You're pulling away," he said one night, catching her hand as she moved past him in the kitchen. "I'm protecting myself." "From what?" "From being the woman who waits forever for a man who's never coming home." His face crumpled. "Maddie, don't." She pulled her hand free. "You're always sorry, always promising it'll get better, but it doesn't." "It will. I just need 3 more weeks." Madison's laugh was bitter. "That's what you always say, 3 more weeks. One more deal, one more quarter. There's always something more important." "That's not true, isn't it?" Silence stretched between them, heavy and suffocating. 13 months in, Claire's past unfolded in pieces during their weekly meetups. "My college boyfriend cheated with my roommate," she said one night, staring into her wine glass. "Told me I was too needy, too demanding, wanted too much of his time." Madison's heart ached. "Claire, I'm sorry. It's fine. Ancient history." But her smile didn't reach her eyes. Then there was Harrison, corporate lawyer, brilliant, charming, chose a promotion in New York over me. Said long distance wouldn't work. "That's awful." "And Garrett," Claire's voice went flat. "We were engaged. 3 weeks before the wedding, he told me he wasn't ready, that he needed to focus on his career." Madison reached for her hand. "You've had terrible luck." "Have I?" Claire's gaze was steady, calculating. "Or do I just attract men who don't know how to prioritize the right things?" The parallel wasn't subtle, but Madison was too tired to notice. Later, when Madison left and Claire was alone in her apartment, she opened her phone. In her notes app, buried beneath grocery lists and work reminders, was a document titled "Lessons Learned." The list was long, detailed, clinical, Men who work late don't change, they just get better at apologizing. Gifts are distractions, not solutions. Never love someone more than they love their ambition. She scrolled further. Recent entries. Added over the past few months. Madison, 2, fighting with Ethan more. Good. Return bracelet. She's finally listening. Ethan Blackwell, works late Tuesdays and Thursdays. Office mostly empty after 9 p.m. Claire stared at that last line, something dark and hungry stirring in her chest. She'd watched Madison have everything she had ever wanted, the career, the love, the man who actually tried, and Madison was throwing it away. Ungrateful, blind, foolish. But Claire wasn't. If Madison didn't want him, someone else would. Someone who understood the cost of ambition, someone who wouldn't punish him for success. Someone like her. She added one more note. Coffee shop on Wacker. He goes there Wednesdays at 8 a.m. Then she closed the app and smiled. 14 months in. The fight that changed everything happened on a Thursday. Ethan came home late again, but this time with news. I need to tell you something, he said, exhaustion lining his face. There's a deal. A major acquisition. It could set us up for what, Ethan? Madison cut him off. For more late nights? More missed dinners? More of me sitting here alone? It's 3 weeks. Maybe 4, that's all. Then things will calm down. There's always 3 more weeks with you. Her voice cracked. It's never enough. You're never here, and I'm so tired of being the one who waits. Ethan stepped toward her. I'm doing this for us, for our future. I don't want a future if it means I don't have you now. You have me. Do I? Madison's eyes burned. Because it doesn't feel like it. He opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. What do you want me to do? Quit? Walk away from everything I've built? I want you to choose me. Just once. Choose me. I do choose you. Then prove it. Silence. Ethan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it. Just a glance. Madison saw. Get out, she whispered. Madison, get out. He left. She called Claire, crying. Claire came over immediately, holding Madison while she broke. You did the right thing, Claire whispered, stroking her hair. You deserve someone who shows up. Madison didn't see the satisfaction in Claire's eyes. She was too busy falling apart. Poison doesn't announce itself. It seeps in slowly. A whisper here. A doubt there. A friend who validates every fear until you can't tell where your voice ends and hers begins. Madison thought Claire was saving her. She had no idea she was being devoured. And Claire? Claire was just getting started. Sunday morning, 7:14 a.m. Madison's hands shook as she lined up the third test beside the other 2. Positive, positive, positive. 3 pink lines, 3 confirmations, 3 ways of saying the same impossible thing. She was pregnant. The bathroom floor was cold beneath her knees. Morning light filtered through the frosted window, casting everything in soft focus. She could hear Ethan breathing in the bedroom, deep, steady, finally asleep after actually being home for a full weekend. A miracle in itself. Madison pressed her palm against her still flat stomach, her mind spinning through 1,000 scenarios at once. A baby. Their baby. Joy hit first sharp and overwhelming. She'd always wanted to be a mother. Even as a little girl, she'd imagined it. The tiny fingers, the first smile, reading bedtime stories and building pillow forts and teaching someone to be brave. Then terror. Was this the right time? They'd been together 14 months, but half of that had been spent fighting. She barely saw him. How could they raise a child when they could barely sustain a relationship? But maybe hope flickered. Dangerous and desperate, maybe this would change things. Maybe a baby would remind him what mattered. Maybe he'd finally choose them over the next deal, the next meeting, the next emergency that always seemed more urgent than her. Then doubt. Claire's voice, sharp and certain in her memory. When someone consistently chooses work, it's a statement about priorities. Would he even be there? For the doctor's appointments? For the midnight feedings? For any of it? Madison's father hadn't been. One day he was there. The next, Gone. Her mother had spent 2 years waiting for him to come back, growing smaller and sadder with each passing month. Madison had sworn she'd never become that woman. But here she was, pregnant, terrified, hoping for a man who couldn't even make it home for dinner. She needed to talk to someone. She needed to process this before she told Ethan. She needed Claire. That afternoon, Claire's apartment. Claire's apartment was pristine as always. White furniture, minimalist decor, everything in its place. Control disguised as taste. Madison sat on the edge of the couch, hands wrapped around a mug of tea she hadn't touched. "I'm pregnant." The words dropped like stones. Claire's eyes widened. For a moment, just a flash, something unguarded crossed her face. Genuine shock. Then it vanished. Replaced by careful calculation, Madison was too distracted to notice. "Oh my God," Claire breathed. "Maddie, how far along?" "I don't know. A few weeks, maybe. I haven't been to a doctor yet." Claire set down her own mug, her expression shifting into sympathetic concern. "Perfect. Practiced. How are you feeling?" "I don't know." Madison's voice cracked. "Terrified? Happy? I can't tell anymore. Does Ethan know?" "No. I wanted to process it first. Figure out what I'm going to say." Claire moved closer, taking Madison's hand. Her grip was firm, anchoring. "What do you want to say?" "That I'm scared. That I want this baby, but I don't know if I can do it with someone who's never there." "You're scared you'll be doing it alone?" "Yes." The admission broke something in Madison's chest. Tears spilled over. What if he's not there? What if I'm raising this baby by myself while he's at the office until 2 in the morning? Claire's thumb traced circles over Madison's knuckles. "I'm scared for you too." Madison looked up. "What?" "I'm scared, Maddie, because I love you, and I see what's happening." Claire's eyes glistened, tears she summoned on command. "You'll be raising this baby alone. You don't know that." "Don't I?" Claire's voice was gentle, devastating. "He can't even make it home for dinner. How will he make it to doctor's appointments, to ultrasounds, to the birth?" Madison pulled her hand away. "He'll try. He's been trying for over a year. Has anything changed?" Silence. "My aunt," Claire said quietly, "stayed with a man like this. Brilliant. Successful. Always working. He missed her first ultrasound. Missed the anatomy scan. Missed the birth because he was closing a deal in Singapore." She paused. "He never forgave himself. She never forgave him. They stayed together for 10 years, miserable, because they thought they had to." Madison's hands shook. "That won't happen to us." "Maybe not. But what if it does?" Claire gripped Madison's shoulders, forcing eye contact. "I need you to hear me. You need to protect yourself. And this baby, how? Financially first. Take what you need from your joint account, not stealing, securing. You're entitled to it. Make sure you and this baby are taken care of, no matter what. That feels wrong. What feels wrong is bringing a child into the world and hoping a man who can't show up for you will suddenly show up for them." Claire's voice softened. "You can always come back if he changes. But don't trap yourself hoping he will." The words burrowed deep. Don't trap yourself hoping he will. Madison had watched her mother do exactly that. Wait, and hope and shrink herself into nothing. She wouldn't do the same. "I'll tell him," Madison said. "Today, tonight, whenever he gets home." Claire nodded. "And if he promises to change, I'll give him a chance." "But you'll protect yourself first," Claire said. Madison hesitated, then nodded. Claire pulled her into a hug, and Madison missed the smile that curved across her friend's face. Satisfaction. Victory. One more push, and Madison would be gone, leaving Ethan broken and vulnerable. Exactly where Claire needed him. That evening, Madison's apartment. Madison paced her living room, rehearsing the words for the 100th time. "I'm pregnant. We're going to have a baby. I need you to be here. Really here. Simple. Direct. True." Her phone buzzed. Ethan's name lit the screen. Her heart leapt. Maybe he was on his way home. Maybe she could tell him tonight, over dinner, the way she'd imagined. She opened the message. "Working late again. Client emergency. Don't wait up at the penthouse. Love you." The words blurred. Madison stared at the screen, something cold and final settling in her chest. Client emergency. Always a client emergency. She typed a response, deleted it, typed again. Okay. One word, no emotion, no fight left. Another text came through. Not Ethan, but Claire. See? This is exactly what I meant. Madison's jaw tightened. She looked around her apartment, at the life she'd built, the independence she'd fought for, the woman she'd been before Ethan Blackwell walked into that conference room and made her believe in something more. That woman wouldn't wait around hoping. That woman would protect herself. There are moments that change everything. Moments where one choice splits your life into before and after. Madison didn't know it yet, but she was standing at that crossroads. Tell him. Don't tell him. Trust him. Protect yourself. Hope. Or run. The decision she'd make in the next few hours would shape the next 6 years, and none of it would go the way she imagined. That night, at their shared penthouse apartment, the Chicago skyline glittered through floor-to-ceiling windows like a galaxy of broken promises. Ethan had told her not to come, not to wait, but she was there anyway. She had to tell him. Madison sat in the dark living room, phone clutched in her hand, watching the clock on the wall tick forward with mechanical indifference. 8 p.m. She'd rehearsed the words 100 times. I'm pregnant. We're going to have a baby. I need you to be here. 9 p.m. Her phone buzzed. Claire. Still waiting? Madison didn't reply. Another text. You deserve better than this. Stop waiting for someone who's not coming. 10 p.m. The apartment felt cavernous. Expensive furniture that had never quite felt like home. Modern art Ethan had chosen. Everything sleek and beautiful and hollow. 11 p.m. Madison's hand drifted to her stomach. Barely anything there yet. Just cells dividing, a heartbeat forming, a future taking shape whether she was ready or not. Tell him, one voice whispered. Give him a chance. He's not coming, another voice answered. Claire's voice. He never does. 11:47 p.m. Her phone lit up. Not Ethan. Claire again. You don't have to do this alone. Whatever you decide, I'm here. Madison closed her eyes. The sound of a key in the lock jolted her upright. 12:32 a.m. Ethan stepped through the door, exhausted in a way that went bone deep. Tie loosened, jacket slung over his shoulder, shadows beneath his eyes that hadn't been there 6 months ago. He dropped his briefcase by the door, froze. Madison sat motionless on the couch, silhouetted against the city lights, her face unreadable in the darkness. Mads, concern flooded his voice, immediate, genuine. Not defensiveness, not irritation, just worry. Why are you sitting in the dark? Are you okay? She didn't move. I need to talk to you. It's important. Relief flickered across his features. Okay. Yes. Just let me shower real quick. 5 minutes, I promise. I've been in meetings since 7 this morning and It's always 5 minutes. Her voice was flat, dead. Always tomorrow, always later. Ethan stopped, set his jacket down carefully. Madison, what's wrong? Sit down. He did. Across from her, the coffee table a barrier between them. I can't do this anymore, she said. His face went pale. Can't do what? This. Us. You're never here, Ethan. I'm always alone. That's not fair. I'm building something for us. For our future. I don't need a future. The words exploded out of her. I need you now. Not next week. Not after the next deal closes. Now. Ethan leaned forward, hands clasped. I know I've been working too much. I know I've missed dinners. And you've missed everything. Madison's voice cracked. Do you even remember the last real conversation we had? The last time we just were together without you checking your phone every 5 minutes? I'm trying to give us security, to build something that means we never have to worry. About what? Money. She laughed, bitter and broken. We have money. What we don't have is time. What we don't have is us. Ethan's jaw tightened. So what do you want me to do? Quit? Walk away from everything I've spent years building? I want you to see me. Her voice rose. I want you to choose me. Just once. Choose me over a client meeting, over a late-night emergency, over whatever else is always more important. You are important. Then prove it. She was standing now, trembling. Tell me one thing you've sacrificed for this relationship, one meeting you've skipped, one deal you've walked away from. Silence. Madison's chest heaved. That's what I thought. That's not fair, Ethan said quietly. Every sacrifice I make is for you. Every hour I work, every deal I close, it's so you never have to struggle, so we can have the life we want. I never asked for this life. The admission tore out of her. I asked for you. That's all, just you. Ethan stood, exhaustion giving way to frustration. I'm doing the best I can. Your best isn't enough. The words landed like bullets. Ethan's face went very still. What are you saying? Madison wrapped her arms around herself. Maybe we want different things. Maybe this isn't working. Are you, he couldn't finish the sentence, are you breaking up with me over one late night? It's not one night. Her voice cracked. It's every night. It's every broken promise. Every missed dinner. Every time I go to bed alone wondering if you'll even make it home. I always come home. Your body does. But you? She shook her head. You're already gone. Ethan took a step toward her. Don't do this. We can fix this. I'll cut back on hours. I'll delegate more. Just don't give up on us. I'm not giving up. Tears streamed down her face. I've been fighting for us for months, but I can't be the only one fighting. You're not. Then where were you tonight? The question was quiet, devastating. I told you it was important. You said you'd be home, and you chose work. Again, guilt flickered across his face. The client. There's always a client. Silence stretched between them, heavy with everything unsaid. Madison opened her mouth. The words were right there. I'm pregnant. You're going to be a father. Please don't make me do this alone. But before she could speak, Ethan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, just a glance. Madison's jaw clenched. Don't answer it, she whispered. Ethan looked at her. At the phone. Back at her. It's just a notification. Don't answer it. He put the phone in his pocket. It's off. See? I'm here. But the damage was done. You looked, Madison said. Even now, in the middle of this, you looked. Look, Madison, if you want to leave, leave. The words came out harsh, desperate. I already told you I'm tired and want to shower. I had a stressful day. I'm too tired to keep apologizing for trying to build us a life. You're building yourself a life, Madison said quietly. I'm just supposed to wait around for you to fit me into it. Ethan's face hardened as he stood up. I'm going to shower now. We'll talk about this tomorrow. As walked into his bedroom and closed the door, she slid to the floor, silent sobs racking her body. In the bedroom, she heard Ethan pace, heard him pick up his phone, heard the bathroom door slam. By the time the shower started, she was already packing. She had made her decision. By dawn, pale morning light filtered through the windows, painting the penthouse in shades of grey. Ethan emerged from the bedroom, eyes red-rimmed, prepared to apologize, to fix things, to prove he could change. But the apartment was silent. Madison? No answer. He walked through the living room, the kitchen, her favorite mug still in the sink from yesterday morning, her book on the coffee table. Everything looked normal, except it wasn't. Her overnight bag was gone. Her laptop, the chargers that usually snaked across the counter. His chest tightened. On the kitchen counter, a single piece of paper. His hands shook as he picked it up. I can't do this anymore. Please don't look for me. M. The handwriting was hers. Familiar, final. Ethan's legs gave out. He sank into a chair, note clutched in his fist. His phone. He grabbed it, pulled up her contact. Call failed. He tried again. Call failed. Texted. Message not delivered. She'd blocked him. He called her workplace. Voice shaking. Madison Carter, please. I'm sorry, sir. Miss Carter resigned yesterday. We don't have forwarding information. The phone slipped from his hands. He sat there as the sun rose, casting long shadows across empty rooms. Eventually, he moved, checked the joint account on his laptop. $50,000 withdrawn. Yesterday afternoon, while he'd been in meetings, she'd already been planning to leave. Ethan pushed back from the table, walked through the apartment in a daze, her toothbrush still in the holder beside his, her coffee pods still in the drawer, the photo of them at Lake Michigan still on his nightstand, both of them laughing, wind in their hair, before everything fell apart. He picked it up with shaking hands. She'd come back. She had to. This was just her cooling off, giving herself space. She'd come back. He left everything exactly as it was. Her mug in the sink, her book on the table, her side of the bed untouched, waiting, like she'd waited for him. Ethan Blackwell had built an empire, closed impossible deals, won every negotiation, but he'd lost the only thing that mattered, and he didn't even know why. He didn't know about Claire's poison, about the doubts planted like seeds. He didn't know Madison was carrying his child. All he knew was that the woman he loved was gone, and he had no idea how to get her back. Madison's new reality. Year 1, survival mode. Milwaukee, March. The apartment smelled like fresh paint and desperation. Madison stood in the center of her new living room, if you could call it that. 800 square feet, beige carpet worn thin in the traffic paths. A kitchenette with appliances from the 90s. Windows that overlooked a parking lot instead of the Chicago skyline. But it was hers, and it was far enough away. She set down the last moving box, one hand pressed to her lower back. 4 months pregnant now. The bump barely visible beneath her oversized sweater, but present, real, growing. Her laptop sat on the card table that doubled as her desk. 3 freelance contracts already lined up. Marketing consultation for a boutique hotel. Social media strategy for a local restaurant. Copywriting for a startup that probably wouldn't survive the year. It wasn't much, but it was something. Then her phone buzzed. Claire's name lit the screen. "Hey, just checking in. How's the new place?" Madison stared at the message. Part of her wanted to ignore it, to cut ties completely. But Claire was the only person who knew where she was. The only connection to her old life. The only friend she had left. "It's fine." Settling in. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. "I'm here if you need anything. Anytime. You know that, right?" Madison's throat tightened. "I know. Thank you." She set the phone down and didn't pick it up again for 3 days. May. The OB-GYN's waiting room was full of couples. Madison sat alone, flipping through a magazine she wasn't reading. Around her, pregnant women leaned into their partners, held hands, laughed at ultrasound photos. She kept her eyes down. Madison Carter? She followed the nurse back, changed into the paper gown, lay on the examination table, while cool gel spread across her stomach. The technician moved the wand. Static filled the room. Then, a heartbeat, fast and strong and impossibly real. Madison's vision blurred. "Would you like to know the sex?" the technician asked. "Not yet." Her voice came out broken. "I want to be surprised." She'd meant to say, "We want to be surprised," but there was no we, just her. She drove home in silence, one hand on her belly, feeling the flutter of movement that might have been the baby or might have been her imagination. Either way, she was alone with it. August, 3:47 a.m. Labor came 3 weeks early. Madison's hands shook as she called the car service, grabbed her hospital bag, locked the apartment behind her. No one to call. No one to hold her hand through contractions that bent her double in the back seat. The driver kept glancing in the rearview mirror. "You okay, miss?" "Fine," she'd responded. But she wasn't fine. She was terrified. 17 hours later, a nurse placed a small, screaming bundle in her arms. "It's a boy," she said, smiling. "Congratulations." Madison looked down at her son. Dark hair, still damp, tiny fists clenched, eyes squeezed shut against the shocking brightness of the world. Then he opened them. "Hazel, Ethan's exact shade. Her breath caught. "Hi, baby," she whispered. "I'm your mom." He stopped crying. Just for a moment. Just long enough to stare at her like he was memorizing her face. "Henry," she said softly. "Your name is Henry, after your great-grandfather. He was brave and kind, and he never left the people he loved." The baby Henry made a small sound. Madison pulled him closer, tears streaming down her face. "I'm going to take care of you," she promised. "I'm going to give you everything. And someday, when you're old enough to understand, I'll explain why your father doesn't know about you." She closed her eyes, holding her son against her chest, wishing desperately that things were different, knowing they never could be. Years 2 to 3, building stability. Henry, 14 months old. Madison's phone gallery was full of milestones Ethan would never see. First smile. First laugh. First time rolling over. She'd started taking photos obsessively, partly for Henry so he'd have proof of his childhood, partly for herself because capturing moments made them feel more real, and partly because photography was the only thing that felt like hers anymore. The marketing work paid the bills, but wedding photography fed something deeper. She started small. A co-worker's anniversary party, a friend of a friend's backyard ceremony. Word spread. Her portfolio grew. Brides loved her eye for detail, the way she caught moments people didn't know mattered until they saw them frozen in time. Just like she'd told Ethan, back when she still believed in telling him anything. Henry, 18 months old. He took his first steps on a Tuesday afternoon. Madison was editing photos on her laptop when she heard him babbling behind her. She turned just in time to see him let go of the couch, wobble, and take 3 shaky steps before falling onto his diapered bottom. "Oh my God!" She scooped him up, laughing and crying at the same time. You walked, baby." Henry giggled, delighted by her reaction. She called Claire without thinking. He walked. Henry just walked. Claire's squeal of excitement felt genuine. "That's amazing. I wish I could have seen it. I got it on video. I'll send it." "Please do. And Maddie, you're doing such an incredible job. You know that, right?" The words settled warm in Madison's chest. "Thanks. I needed to hear that." After they hung up, Madison watched the video 3 more times. Henry's wobbly steps, his triumphant expression, Ethan's smile. She deleted Claire's number from her recent calls and put the phone away. Henry, 2 years, 4 months old. "Where's Daddy?" The question came out of nowhere. They were at the playground. Henry on the swings, Madison pushing him gently. Other families scattered across the park, fathers throwing baseballs, mothers spreading picnic blankets. Madison's hands froze on the swing chain. "What, baby?" Henry pointed at a man lifting his daughter onto the slide. "That girl has Daddy. Where's mine?" Her heart cracked down the middle. She lifted Henry off the swing, settled him on her lap on the bench, eye level. The way she always did for important conversations. "Daddy doesn't know about you, baby," she said carefully. "It's complicated. But why? Because sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, and sometimes those mistakes are really hard to fix." Henry's small hand patted her cheek. "Okay, Mama. I love you." Madison pulled him close, burying her face in his hair. "I love you too, baby. So much." That night, after Henry fell asleep, she allowed herself to cry, for the choices she'd made, the words she'd never said, the father her son would never know, and for Ethan, who was missing all of this. Years 4 to 6, success but emptiness. Henry, now 5 years old, kindergarten orientation. The teacher handed out family tree worksheets. "We'll be learning about families this month," she explained brightly. "Have your child fill this out with your help. Parents, grandparents, siblings, anyone who's part of your family." Madison stared at the paper. 2 branches. Mother, father. Henry tugged her sleeve. "Do I have a daddy branch?" The other parents weren't listening, but Madison felt their presence anyway. Complete families. Normal families. "Yes," she said quietly. "You have a daddy. He just travels a lot for work." The lie tasted like ash. Henry accepted it without question. drew a stick figure on the farther branch, gave him a briefcase and a smile. Madison folded the worksheet and stuck it in her bag before she could look at it too long. Henry, 5 years, 8 months old. Madison's business had grown beyond anything she'd imagined. Carter Creative Marketing, 3 steady clients, a portfolio that spoke for itself. Enough income to move to a better apartment, 2 real bedrooms, updated kitchen, a view of the lake instead of the parking lot. She'd done it, built something from nothing, proved she didn't need anyone. But late at night, when Henry was asleep and the apartment was too quiet, she'd open her laptop. Not to work, to search. Ethan Blackwell. The results came back immediate and endless. Business articles, charity gala photos, investor profiles. He looked the same, older maybe, more polished, but the same sharp jawline, the same intense eyes. She told herself she was just curious, making sure he was okay, but that was a lie. She was looking for signs that he'd moved on, that leaving had been the right choice, that the guilt eating at her had been worth it. His Instagram was public, professional, carefully curated, photos of ribbon-cutting ceremonies, handshake deals, the Chicago skyline at sunset from his office window. No personal posts, no women, nothing that told her whether he'd healed or was still broken. Madison scrolled through months of content. Her finger hovered over the close button. Just go to bed. Stop torturing yourself. Then a new post loaded at the top of her feed. Not Ethan's, Claire's. Madison's thumb froze. The image was simple, elegant. A woman's hand against black velvet, ring finger extended. The engagement ring caught the light platinum band, princess-cut diamond, smaller stones flanking the center. Tasteful, expensive, beautiful. The caption read, "She said yes. Number, engaged. Number, new chapter." Madison stared at the screen. Claire was engaged. Her best friend, her only friend, was getting married. And Madison was finding out through Instagram. A dozen emotions crashed through her at once. Happiness, because Claire deserved love after everything she'd been through, but also hurt, sharp and unexpected. Why hadn't Claire called, texted, told her first? 6 years ago, Madison had told Claire about her pregnancy before anyone else, before Ethan, before her own mother. She'd trusted Claire with the most terrifying, vulnerable moment of her life. And now Claire was engaged, and Madison was learning about it the same way a stranger would. She scrolled through the comments. Congratulations from people Madison didn't recognize. Heart emojis. Excited questions. Who's the lucky guy? When's the wedding? Show us his face. But Claire hadn't responded to any of them, hadn't posted a photo of the man, hadn't even mentioned his name. Madison's chest tightened. She opened her messages, started typing. Claire, congratulations, I'm so happy for you. Who is he? Her thumb hovered over send. Then she deleted it. If Claire had wanted her to know, she would have told her. The fact that she hadn't said everything about where their friendship stood now. Madison set the phone face down on her nightstand and stared at the ceiling. The irony wasn't lost on her. 6 years ago, she'd been the one with the secret, the one keeping Claire at arm's length, drowning in guilt and fear and impossible choices. Now Claire was the one with secrets, the one moving forward into a future Madison wasn't part of. They drifted. She knew that. The phone calls had become less frequent, the texts more surface level. Madison had pulled away first, trying to protect herself from questions she couldn't answer. But this hurt more than she expected. Her best friend was getting married to someone Madison had never even heard of, and she was finding out through social media like everyone else. Madison rolled onto her side, pulling the blanket up to her chin. Maybe this was what she deserved. For leaving, for lying, for building a life on a foundation of half-truths and omissions. Or maybe this was just what happened when you ran far enough away. Eventually, everyone stopped chasing you. She closed her eyes and tried to sleep. But all she could see was that ring, sparkling, perfect, a symbol of a future someone else was building, while Madison was still stuck in the past. Meanwhile, Claire's long game. Phase 1, Coincidental encounters within months 1 to 6 after Madison left. The coffee shop on Wacker Drive. Wednesday morning. Claire had been coming here for 3 weeks. Same time. Same corner table. Always with a book or her laptop, looking busy but available. Waiting. Ethan's schedule was predictable, obsessively so. Every Wednesday at 8:15 a.m. he ordered the same drink. Caramel macchiato, extra shot, no whip. She'd learned that from Madison, along with everything else. This Wednesday, he finally noticed her. Claire. She looked up, perfectly surprised. "Ethan! Oh my God, hi!" He hesitated, coffee in hand, guilt and confusion warring across his face. "What are you doing here?" "I work nearby now. New consulting gig." She gestured to the empty chair. "Want to sit? Or is that weird?" "I don't." He stopped, started again. "Have you heard from her?" Claire's expression shifted to sympathetic concern. Practiced. Perfect. "No. I'm worried sick. She won't return my calls." "Mine either." His voice cracked. "I don't understand what happened. One fight. One stupid fight. And she just disappeared." "I know. I can't believe it either." Ethan sank into the chair across from her. "Did she say anything? Before she left? Anything that would explain?" "She was struggling," Claire said carefully, "with the distance, feeling like she came second to your work." She paused. "But I never thought she'd just leave like that. I would have changed. If she'd just talked to me." "I know you would have." Claire reached across the table, squeezed his hand. "This isn't your fault, Ethan." He pulled away, scrubbing his face with his palms. "It feels like it is." They sat in silence. Claire let the moment breathe. Didn't push, didn't overstay. "I should go," she said after a few minutes. "But if you ever need to talk, I'm around." Ethan nodded, barely hearing her. Claire left her coffee half-finished and walked out. Phase 1, complete. Phase 2, friendship foundation within months, 6 to 18. The weekly coffee meetings became routine. Ethan would talk, Claire would listen. She learned everything Madison had already told her and filled in the gaps Madison had left. His childhood in Boston, absent father, overbearing mother, the pressure to prove himself. His favorite author, Cormac McCarthy. His guilty pleasure, old westerns on AMC. His complicated relationship with success. Claire mirrored it all back to him, validated, empathized, never judged. "You're easy to talk to," Ethan said one morning, 6 months into their routine. "So are you." Madison used to say that. His expression went distant. "God, I miss her." "I know. Do you think she's okay?" Claire's jaw tightened. "I hope so." Meanwhile, she did know. Madison had always sent occasional updates. Brief, distant. "I'm fine. Baby's healthy. Don't worry." But Claire never told Ethan. Well, because that wasn't part of the plan. Phase 3. Filling the void within years 2 to 4. Ethan's office. 11 p.m. on a Thursday. "You look exhausted." Ethan glanced up from his laptop, only to see Claire standing at the doorway, 2 cups of coffee in hand. "What are you doing here?" he asked. "Saw your light on from the street. Figured you could use this." She set 1 cup on his desk. He took it gratefully. "You're a lifesaver." "I know." She settled into the chair across from him. "Hostile takeover? How did you—" "I read the business section," she smirked. "And I might know someone. Corporate attorney. Specializes in this exact situation." Ethan's eyes sharpened. "You're serious?" "Completely. Want me to make a call?" "Claire, He stopped. "Why are you helping me?" She met his gaze, steady, honest. "Because you're my friend. And friends show up." The words landed exactly as intended. 3 weeks later, the takeover attempt collapsed. Ethan's company emerged stronger. He sent Claire flowers, dinner reservations, a handwritten thank you note. "You saved me. I don't know how to repay you." Claire smiled and tucked the note away. Repayment wasn't necessary. He was already hers. Year 3. Charity Gala. December. The kiss had happened in a quiet hallway, away from the crowd, away from cameras. Just the two of them, champagne warm and tired of pretending. "I shouldn't," Ethan whispered, but his hand was already in her hair. "Then don't," Claire whispered back. But he leaned down, and after a moment of looking straight at her lips, he kissed her, soft, hesitant, like he was betraying someone who was already gone. When they finally pulled apart, guilt shadowed his face. "This feels wrong. She left you, Ethan, 3 years ago." Claire's voice was gentle, devastating. "You're allowed to move on." "Am I?" "Yes." He kissed her again. And this time, he didn't stop. Phase 4, the proposal. Year 5, Lake Michigan. Sunset. The ring was platinum. Tasteful. Expensive. Ethan knelt on the same beach where he'd once stayed up all night talking to Madison. But he wasn't thinking about her. Not anymore. "Claire Donovan, will you marry me?" Claire's tears were real. Her smile, dazzling. Yes. He slipped the ring onto her finger, and she pulled him into a kiss that tasted like victory. Meanwhile, at Claire's apartment. Late that night, after Ethan left, Claire opened her closet. On the top shelf, hidden behind shoeboxes, sat a small wooden box. She lifted the lid. Inside, photos of Madison and Ethan, stolen from Madison's apartment before she'd moved, printed from social media before Madison deleted everything. The two of them at Lake Michigan, laughing in a coffee shop, asleep on a couch. Claire traced a finger over Madison's face. "I won," she whispered. Then she closed the box and put it back, not because she was done, but because the best part was still coming. The wedding, where unknown to her, Madison would photograph her victory, where Ethan would realize what he'd lost, and Claire would finally have everything. 6 years. That's how long it took for 3 lives to splinter into completely different directions. Madison built a life from nothing, raised a son alone, became the woman she swore she'd never be strong because she had no choice. Ethan buried his heartbreak in work. Let Claire fill the spaces Madison left empty, convinced himself he'd moved on. And Claire played the long game, patient, calculating, waiting for the perfect moment to claim her prize. But none of them knew the collision was coming, that a single wedding invitation would detonate everything they'd carefully constructed, that the truth hidden for 6 years was about to explode in the worst possible place, at the altar, in front of everyone. With a 6-year-old boy who just wanted to know his father, the past wasn't buried, it was just waiting, and it was about to come back with a vengeance. "Family, I need to know, was Madison right to leave, or did she make the biggest mistake of her life? And Claire, is she a villain, or just a woman who took her chance?" Comment below and let's talk about it. And if you're invested in this story, hit that subscribe button because you won't believe what happens next. 3 weeks before the wedding, the email arrived on a Tuesday morning while Madison was editing photos from a Tess engagement shoot. Subject: exclusive opportunity, premium event. "Dear Ms. Carter, your portfolio has come highly recommended for an exclusive, high-profile wedding assignment. The client is seeking combined marketing consultation and photography services for what's being called the Society Wedding of the Year. Compensation is substantially above your standard rate. Details attached. Please confirm availability for October 4th at your earliest convenience. Best regards, Diane Chen, Premier Events, Co." Madison's heart rate kicked up. She opened the attachment. The compensation figure made her blink twice. It was more than she typically made in 2 months. Enough to cover Henry's after-school program for the entire year. Enough to finally replace her aging camera equipment. She scanned the details. Venue: Riverside Grand Hotel. Guest count: 300 plus. Full-day coverage required. Marketing materials to be delivered within 1 week post-event. The client names were listed formally. Bride: Claire D. Groom: E. Blackwell. Madison's eyes caught on the familiar name first, Claire. Though she couldn't have thought it was her, her chest tightened. Claire was also getting married on October 4th, as she saw on her Instagram post. The same day as this wedding, she felt a pang of disappointment. She'd been hoping to reach out, Maybe send flowers or a gift. Ask if they could talk. 6 years was long enough to let hurt feelings fade, wasn't it? But this job, this money. Madison clicked reply before she could second-guess herself. Diane, I'm available and very interested. Please send contract details. Best, Madison Carter. She hit send, then immediately opened her messages. Found Claire's contact. They hadn't spoken in almost 8 months. Their texts had dwindled to holiday greetings and the occasional generic check-in. Madison typed quickly, before she lost her nerve. Hey, just got a huge wedding gig for October 4th, same day as yours. I know we haven't talked much lately, but I wanted to say congratulations again. I wish I could be there, but this job is too good to pass up. I'm really happy for you. Can't wait to hear all about it when you're back from the honeymoon. She added a string of heart emojis and hit send. The response came faster than expected. 3 dots appeared almost immediately. No worries at all. It's going to be a small ceremony anyway. Hubby wanted to keep it intimate. Just close family. We'll definitely celebrate when I'm back. Miss you. Madison stared at the message. Small ceremony. Just family. Something felt off about that. Claire had always talked about having a big wedding. The dress, the flowers, the reception that would be featured in magazines. But people changed. Priorities shifted. Maybe her fiancé was more private. Madison shook off the unease and closed the message thread. She had work to do. Claire's apartment. Same afternoon. Claire set her phone down, heart pounding but blooming with satisfaction. Glad Madison hadn't pressed further to come. And she was finally getting married to the very Ethan Blackwell. Claire walked to her bedroom, opened the closet, and pulled out the small wooden box from the top shelf. Inside, the stolen photos of Madison and Ethan stared back at her. She'd known this was a risk, taking her best friend's man. But still, she believed she earned it. Claire traced a finger over one of the photos. Madison and Ethan at the lake, laughing. Golden hour light making them look like something out of a fairy tale. You had everything, Claire whispered, and you threw it away. She closed the box and put it back. Tomorrow, she'd confirm final details with Diane. Make sure everything was set. This was happening, and if eventually Madison somehow brought complications, questions, emotions, disruptions, well, Claire would handle it. She always did. Meanwhile, the week before, Madison's apartment. Monday evening, Madison spread the wedding details across her kitchen table, reviewing everything for the 3rd time. Venue, Riverside Grand Hotel. Her stomach dropped. She knew that hotel. She and Ethan had gone there for their first real date. Dinner at the rooftop restaurant, champagne they couldn't really afford, the city spreading out beneath them like a promise. She pushed the memory away. It was just a hotel. Chicago was full of them. Her eyes moved down the page. Groom, E. Blackwell. Blackwell. Common enough name. Chicago had plenty of Blackwells. It didn't mean anything, but her hands trembled slightly as she set the paper down. Mom? Henry appeared in the doorway, pajamas on, hair still damp from his bath. Is that for the fancy wedding? Yeah, baby, just reviewing the schedule. Can I come? Madison looked up, surprised. It's going to be really boring, sweetie. Lots of standing around, lots of waiting. But I never get to see fancy parties. His eyes were wide, pleading. And you said there'd be cake. She had said that, trying to make the long workday sound less daunting when she'd explained why he'd need to stay with Mrs. Patterson next door. Except Mrs. Patterson had called yesterday. Family emergency, no childcare available. Madison had been scrambling for alternatives ever since. Please, Mom. I'll be good. I'll stay quiet, I promise. She studied his face. 6 years old, smart, well-behaved, capable of sitting still when needed. And honestly, bringing him would save her the cost of emergency childcare. Money she didn't really have to spare. Okay, she said finally. But you have to stay close to me. No running around. Deal? Deal. Henry launched himself at her, wrapping small arms around her waist. Madison hugged him back, guilt settling heavy in her chest. not knowing she was bringing her son to photograph a wedding at the same hotel where she'd fallen in love with his father. A father he'd never met. A father who didn't even know he existed. What could possibly go wrong? The day before, Highway 94 South, Saturday afternoon. Madison's hands tightened on the steering wheel as the Chicago skyline came into view. 6 years. 6 years since she'd driven this highway in the opposite direction, pregnant and terrified, and convinced she was doing the right thing. Now she was coming back. "Did you ever live here, Mom?" Henry's voice pulled her from the spiral of memory. She glanced in the rearview mirror. He was watching the city grow closer, eyes wide with curiosity. "A long time ago, baby. Before me." "Yeah, before you. Did you like it?" Madison's throat tightened. "Sometimes. It's complicated." Henry seemed to accept that. He went back to his tablet, headphones on, absorbed in whatever game he was playing. Madison focused on the road. They passed the exit for Navy Pier, the exit for Millennium Park. Streets she'd walked 1,000 times with Ethan, back when everything felt possible. Then the highway curved, and suddenly there, the Blackwell Industries Tower, tall and glass and gleaming, exactly as she remembered. Maybe bigger, maybe more imposing, or maybe she'd just gotten smaller. Her hands strangled the steering wheel, her pulse hammered in her ears. Ethan was in that building, right now, probably in his office, preparing for his wedding tomorrow, completely unaware that the woman who'd destroyed him was driving past his window. "Mom, you okay?" She blinked, loosened her grip. "Fine, sweetie. Just traffic." There was no traffic. But Henry didn't question it. Madison forced herself to breathe, to keep driving, to not look back. Tomorrow was just a job. Get in, do the work, get out. She'd been invisible behind a camera for 6 years. One more day wouldn't kill her. 24 hours. That's all that stood between 3 lives and total detonation. Madison thought she could stay hidden. Just another photographer, just another hired hand. Claire thought she could control the narrative, manage the chaos, win completely. Ethan thought he was marrying someone who understood him, someone who wouldn't leave. But none of them understood what was coming, because when you build a life on secrets, eventually they detonate. And tomorrow? Tomorrow, everything would burn. Now, present day, the wedding, pre-ceremony, Riverside Grand Hotel, 10:47 a.m. Madison moved through the ballroom with practiced efficiency, her professional mask firmly in place. Camera bag over one shoulder, light meter in hand. Checklist running through her mind on autopilot. Floral arrangements, check. Lighting tests, check. Backup equipment, check. Henry sat on a chair near the back wall, tablet in hand, headphones on, exactly where she'd told him to stay. The ballroom was already transforming, white orchids everywhere, crystal chandeliers catching the late morning light, a string quartet setting up in the corner. It was beautiful. It was suffocating. Madison, the wedding planner Diane, appeared at her elbow, clipboard in hand. "I need you to get detailed shots of the cake before guests start arriving, and the gift table needs to be photographed from multiple angles." On it. Madison lifted her camera, framing a close-up of sugar flowers that probably cost more than her monthly rent. Around her, the controlled chaos of pre-wedding preparations swirled. Bridesmaids in silk robes getting touch-ups in the bridal suite upstairs. Groomsmen adjusting ties and pocket squares in a side room. Catering staff moving like synchronized dancers. Chicago's elite would start arriving in less than an hour. Madison planned to be invisible by then. Just another vendor, just another hired hand. No one would notice her, no one would care. 11:32 a.m. The guests began to arrive. Designer gowns, tailored suits, jewelry that could fund a small country, laughter and champagne and the rustle of expensive fabric. Madison kept to the edges, camera raised, capturing candid moments as people filtered into the ceremony space. Henry stayed quiet, watching everything with wide eyes. "It's fancy," he whispered when she checked on him. "Very fancy. You doing okay?" He nodded. "Can I have cake later? After I'm done working, I promise." She ruffled his hair and returned to her position near the floral arrangements. 12:14 p.m. Madison was adjusting her telephoto lens when voices drifted from the hallway behind her. Bridesmaids. Jiggling. Excited. "I still can't believe Claire pulled this off," one of them said. "Right? She's been in love with Ethan forever. I'm so happy she finally got her happy ending." Madison's hands stilled on the camera. Ethan. Common name. Had to be. Ethan Blackwell. Another bridesmaid's voice, dreamy. "The Ethan Blackwell. Can you believe her luck?" The camera slipped. Madison caught it at the last second, her heart slamming against her ribs. No, it couldn't be. Blackwell. Ethan Blackwell. Her Ethan. The room tilted, sound distorted, her vision tunneled. "Ma'am, are you all right?" A staff member touched her elbow. Madison jerked away. "Fine, I'm fine." She wasn't fine. Could it be Claire was marrying Ethan, her best friend marrying the father of her child? Madison grabbed her camera bag, hands shaking so badly she nearly dropped it. She found Diane near the entrance. "I have to leave. Family emergency. I'm so sorry. You're contracted." Diane's expression was sympathetic but firm. "We need you, Madison. Besides, if you leave now, we can't get anyone for the job this late minute." "I can't. You'll face legal penalties if you break contract now. Significant ones." Diane softened slightly. "Whatever it is, can it wait 3 hours? Just get through the ceremony and portraits. Then you're free to go." Madison's mind raced. The contract. She'd already spent half the advance on Henry's school expenses. If she broke it now, she'd owe thousands she didn't have. She was trapped. By money, by professionalism, by her own stupid choices. "Fine." The word came out strangled. "But I'm leaving immediately after." Of course. Madison returned to her position in the back corner, as far from the altar as possible. She'd stay hidden, use the telephoto lens, get through this and run. Ethan would never even know she was here. The ceremony began at exactly 12:30 p.m. The processional music started. Canon in D. The same song that had played at a dozen weddings Madison had photographed. But now it sounded like a funeral march. Guests rose. Madison positioned herself in the back corner, telephoto lens ready, hands still shaking. The officiant took his place at the altar. Then the side door opened, and Ethan Blackwell walked into the ballroom. Madison's breath stopped. 6 years collapsed into nothing. He looked the same, older, yes, but more polished. The sharp line of his jaw, the confidence in the way he carried himself, the charcoal suit that fit him perfectly. But his eyes, those were the same hazel eyes she saw every morning in her son's face. The same eyes that had looked at her across a coffee shop table and made her believe in something more. The same eyes that had begged her not to leave. He took his place at the altar, hands clasped, face composed. And Madison felt like the ground could have just swallowed her. Then 12:33 p.m. The bride entered. The music swelled. The doors at the back of the ballroom opened. Then Claire appeared. White silk gown, lace veil, a bouquet of white roses and orchids, blonde hair swept into an elegant twist. She looked like every bride's dream. Madison's stomach turned to ice. Claire's eyes swept the room, practiced, poised, and landed directly on Madison. For one heartbeat, her smile faltered. But then, it was back. Dazzling, triumphant. A smile that said, regardless, I won. Madison's camera nearly slipped from her numb fingers. Henry had been watching quietly, absorbed in the spectacle. But now his small hand tugged at Madison's sleeve. "Mom?" She couldn't answer, couldn't breathe, couldn't look away from the nightmare unfolding in front of her. "Mom." Louder now. Insistent. Madison looked down. Henry's wide hazel eyes, Ethan's eyes, stared up at her, then shifted to the man at the altar. His voice, innocent and devastating, cut through the music as guests settled into their seats. "Mom, that man looks a lot like me. Is that him? Is that my daddy?" The words echoed through the sudden quiet. Heads turned, whispers ignited like wildfire. Madison's camera slipped from her fingers. The strap caught at the last second. The lens clattered against her chest. The sound reverberated through the ballroom like a gunshot. And just then, Ethan's head snapped toward the noise, and his eyes found Madison. For one infinite second, the world stopped. Recognition hit him like a physical blow. His face drained of color, his mouth opened, but no sound came. Then his gaze dropped. To the boy standing beside her, dark curls, hazel eyes, the same stubborn set to his jaw that Ethan saw in the mirror every morning. Understanding crashed through him. His legs nearly gave out. Meanwhile, at the altar, Claire's perfectly manicured hand clenched her bouquet. She followed Ethan's gaze, saw Madison, saw Henry. She could sense the tension of what was about to happen. Her smile vanished. Panic flashed beneath the flawless makeup. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not like this. The officiant cleared his throat, trying desperately to salvage the moment. "Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll please." But Ethan wasn't listening. He took a step forward, then another, away from the altar, toward Madison. "Ethan." Claire's voice came sharp from the altar. Desperate, her hand shot out, gripping his arm. "Look at me." But he didn't. The officiant tried again. "Ethan Blackwell, do you take?" Ethan's voice cut through the chaos. "Did you know?" Claire's face went pale. "What? Did you know she was going to be here?" His eyes were wild, searching hers for truth. Did you know about him?" He gestured toward Henry, and his voice broke on the word. Claire's silence was damning. Chaos erupted. Guests rose from their seats. Phones emerged from pockets and purses. Camera flashes lit up the ballroom. Bridesmaids whispered frantically to each other. The best man stepped forward, trying to pull Ethan aside. "Man, not here. Let's just—" Ethan shook him off. Diane rushed toward Madison. "What is happening?" Madison couldn't answer. She grabbed Henry's hand. "We have to go, now." "But Mom." "Now, Henry." She pulled him toward the exit. Ethan's voice cut through the noise like a knife. "Madison, wait, please." She froze. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to get Henry out of here, to protect him from the fallout. But Ethan's voice, broken and desperate, rooted her in place. And just then, she turned, and their eyes met across the ballroom. 6 years of silence, 6 years of secrets, 6 years of pain and longing and regret, all of it hanging in the space between them. "Please," Ethan said again. "Don't run." "Not again." Madison's vision blurred. Behind Ethan, Claire stood frozen at the altar, her perfect wedding crumbling around her. And Henry, innocent, confused Henry, looked up at Madison with Ethan's eyes and asked the question that would change everything. "Mom, why is everyone staring?" But Madison had no answer, because the truth was finally out, and there was no taking it back. But as Ethan kept coming closer, cameras flickering, emotions too hard to control crashing down on her, Madison didn't remember making the decision to run. One moment she was standing in the ballroom, Ethan's voice cutting through the chaos. The next, Henry's hand was in hers and she was moving. Past rows of shocked guests, past bridesmaids frozen in horror, past the string quartet that had stopped playing mid-note. Her camera bag banged against her hip. Henry's footsteps pattered beside her, struggling to keep up. "Mom, slow down." She couldn't. Behind them, she heard Ethan's voice as he chased her. "Madison, wait." The main corridor, too exposed, too many people staring. She veered left, toward the service hallways she'd scouted during setup. Staff-only areas, quieter, away from the spectacle. Henry was breathing hard now, nearly jogging to match her pace. "Mom, you're scaring me." "I'm sorry, baby, just a little further." The service elevator. She jabbed the button. Once, twice, 3 times. Behind her, footsteps. Running. The elevator dinged. Doors slid open. Madison pulled Henry inside, her finger already moving toward the close door button. A hand shot between the closing doors. They jerked back open. Ethan stood in the hallway, breathing hard. His bow tie hung loose around his neck. His jacket was gone. His white shirt was untucked. He looked completely undone. "Please," he said, "just, please talk to me." Madison's finger hovered over the emergency stop button. Her heart hammered so hard she could feel it in her throat. Henry pressed against her side, small and frightened. Ethan stepped into the elevator. The doors closed behind him. The elevator ride lasted 17 seconds. No one spoke. Madison stared at the floor numbers ticking upward. Henry clutched her hand. Ethan stood on the opposite side, his chest rising and falling like he'd run a marathon. When the doors opened, Madison stepped out into an empty corridor. Guest rooms stretched in both directions. Silence, except for the muffled sound of the string quartet resuming below. They were trying to salvage the ceremony. Good luck with that. Madison turned to face Ethan, positioning herself between him and Henry. "You need to leave." "Is he mine?" Ethan's voice cracked. "Please, just tell me." Madison's hands trembled. She clenched them into fists. "It doesn't matter." "Doesn't matter?" His voice rose. "That boy down there has my eyes." "My—" He stopped, breathing hard. "Madison, is he my son?" Henry whimpered and pressed closer to Madison's leg. She felt something break inside her chest. 6 years of secrets. 6 years of carefully constructed walls, all crumbling. "Yes." The word came out barely above a whisper. "Yes, he's yours." Ethan made a sound like he'd been punched. He took a step back, hand bracing against the wall. His face drained of color. 6 years, he whispered. "You kept him from me for 6 years. I was protecting him." The words exploded out of Madison. "You didn't have time for us, Ethan. You barely had time for me. What was I supposed to do? Raise a child alone while you worked 18-hour days? You were supposed to tell me." His voice echoed down the corridor. "You were supposed to give me a choice." "I tried." Madison's vision blurred with tears. "That night, the night we fought, I was going to tell you. But you were too tired. You're always too tired. Too busy. Too important. So you just left? You just disappeared? What else was I supposed to do?" Her voice broke. "Watch him grow up waiting for a father who never showed. Watch him wonder why Daddy couldn't make it to his birthday, his first day of school, his baseball games. You took my choice." Ethan's hands were shaking. "You took 6 years I can never get back. First steps, first words, first." His voice cracked. "Everything, you took everything. I was protecting him from disappointment. You were protecting yourself." Ethan's words landed like blows. "You ran because it was easier than fighting for us. Easier than believing I could change." Madison flinched. "You wouldn't have changed. You don't know that." He stepped closer, and she saw tears on his face. "I would have sold the company, stepped back, whatever it took. But you didn't give me the chance. You just vanished. I had to." "Every day," Ethan said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Every single day I looked for you. Called your phone, drove past your apartment. Asked everyone we knew if they'd heard from you. For months. Do you have any idea what that was like?" Madison's throat closed. "I thought you were dead," Ethan continued. "I thought something terrible had happened, until Claire finally told me you'd moved, that you wanted a fresh start, that I needed to let you go." At the mention of Claire's name, something shifted in Madison's expression. "Claire told you that? She was the only one who would talk to me, the only one who—" He stopped. Oh God. The pieces were clicking into place for both of them. But then, a small voice cut through the tension. "Are you really my dad?" Both adults froze. Henry had stepped out from behind Madison. His small face was pale, his eyes wide and frightened, but his chin was lifted in a way that reminded Madison painfully of Ethan. Ethan dropped to his knees. Slowly, like any sudden movement might shatter the moment. They were eye level now, father and son, meeting for the first time. "Yes," Ethan said softly. "Yes, I'm your dad." Henry studied him with the serious intensity only a 6-year-old could manage, looking for similarities, looking for truth. "You have my eyes," Henry said finally. Ethan's breath hitched. "You have mine too. Why weren't you there?" The question was simple. Devastating. Other kids have dads. Where were you? Ethan's face crumpled. Tears spilled down his cheeks. I didn't know about you, he said, his voice breaking. Your mom, she had reasons for not telling me, and those reasons are complicated, but I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know. If you did know, would you have come? Every single day, Ethan whispered. Every moment. I would never have missed a second. Henry considered this. Then, you promise? I promise. Mom says promises are important. You can't break them. I won't, Ethan said. I'm here now. If you'll let me be. Henry looked back at Madison, uncertainty in his eyes. Asking permission, Madison's heart shattered. She nodded, unable to speak. Henry turned back to Ethan, extended one small hand. I'm Henry. Ethan took his son's hand in his, and something inside him broke open. I'm Ethan. It's so good to meet you, Henry. Just then the elevator dinged. Doors opened. Claire stepped into the hallway, still in her wedding gown. Her makeup had run, black streaks down her cheeks. Her carefully styled hair was coming loose. She looked like a beautiful disaster. This is what you want? Her voice was ragged. Her? After everything she did to you? After she stole 6 years and vanished like you meant nothing? Ethan stood slowly, positioning himself between Claire and his son. Claire, you need to leave. She destroyed you. Claire's voice rose, hysteria creeping in. I put you back together. I was there through all of it. Me. Madison stepped forward, anger replacing shock. You told me to leave. Claire's eyes snapped to her. I gave you advice. You pushed and pushed until I broke. Madison's voice shook. Every conversation, every coffee date, you planted doubt. You made me question everything. I told you the truth. You couldn't handle his world. You manipulated me. Ethan's voice cut through. You knew. It wasn't a question. All these years. You knew about Henry, didn't you? Claire's face went white. Didn't you? Ethan's voice was deadly quiet. Claire's carefully constructed mask finally shattered. She was drowning you. The words came out in a rush. Making you choose between love and success. Between her insecurity and your ambition. That wasn't your call to make. I saved you. Claire's voice cracked. From a woman who didn't understand your world, who would never fit into it, who would have dragged you down. Madison stared at her former best friend. You envied me. Of course I envied you, Claire screamed. You had everything, perfect love, perfect man, and you didn't even appreciate it. You cried to me about being lonely while I'd have given anything to have someone look at me the way he looked at you. The corridor went silent. So you took him, Madison said softly. You saw your chance and you took him. I gave him 6 years of peace. Claire's tears were flowing freely now. 6 years of partnership, of someone who understood his world, who didn't make him choose. You gave him lies, Ethan said, his voice hollow. You manipulated us both. For what? To win some sick competition? To finally have something that was mine? Claire's voice broke. Something I earned. Not handed to me because of a pretty face or luck or timing. Something I worked for. Something I deserved. You don't deserve anything built on deception, Ethan said. Claire's face crumpled. She looked at Madison, and for just a moment, something genuine flickered in her eyes. Regret, shame, the ghost of the friend she used to be. I loved him, she whispered. I really did love him. No, Madison said quietly. You loved winning. Madison's voice was soft but certain. You were never my friend, were you? Not really. You just wanted what I had. Claire's silence was answer enough. The whole time, Madison continued, pieces falling into place. College, my relationship with Ethan. You were always there, always watching, always waiting. You don't understand, Claire said weakly. I understand perfectly. Madison's voice hardened. You saw me struggle and you called it weakness. You saw me doubt and you fed it. You saw me break and you celebrated. That's not... Get out, Ethan said. Claire looked at him. Ethan, please. Get out. Now. The elevator dinged again. Hotel security stepped out, looking uncomfortable. "We've had complaints about the disturbance," one of them said. "We need everyone to leave the premises." Claire looked between them. Madison, Ethan, Henry. Everything she'd wanted, everything she'd lost. Then she turned and walked back to the elevator. The doors closed, and she was gone. That evening, at Ethan's penthouse, Ethan stood in the center of his living room, still wearing his wedding shirt. The same penthouse Madison had left from 6 years ago, same floor-to-ceiling windows, same view of Chicago spreading out like a promise, but different man standing in it, or maybe not different enough. His phone sat on the counter, vibrating every few minutes. Press, family, business associates, everyone wanting a statement about the wedding disaster. He'd turned off the sound 3 hours ago. Wedding gifts were still arriving downstairs. The doorman had called twice, asking what to do with them. Ethan didn't care. He walked to his bedroom, opened the closet, and pulled a box from the back corner. Hidden behind winter coats and luggage he never used. Madison's things. A Northwestern sweatshirt, a paperback with a cracked spine, a scarf she'd left draped over his couch, a photo booth strip from Navy Pier. He'd told himself he kept them because he was too busy to throw them out. But that was a lie. He picked up the sweatshirt and held it to his face. After 6 years, it still smelled like her perfume. Ethan sank onto the edge of his bed, the sweatshirt clutched in his hands, and let himself break. For 6 years he'd missed her. For 6 years he'd had a son, and he'd missed all of it. Meanwhile, Madison was at the hotel room. She sat cross-legged on the hotel bed, laptop open, Henry asleep beside her. The room was nicer than anywhere she'd stayed in years. King bed, marble bathroom, view of the river. Ethan had booked it, paid for it, refused to take no for an answer before security escorted them all out of the venue. "You're not driving back to Milwaukee tonight," he'd said. "Not after everything. Please." She'd been too exhausted to argue. Now Henry slept peacefully, his small chest rising and falling with each breath, oblivious to the bomb that had detonated his world today. Madison's phone sat on the nightstand, 47 missed calls from Claire. She'd listened to the first voicemail. "Maddie, please, I can explain. It's not what you think. Call me back, please." Deleted the rest without listening. Her laptop screen glowed in the darkness. Google search bar open. Custody laws, Illinois. Co-parenting agreement template. How to introduce child to father. The searches felt clinical, procedural. Like if she could just find the right legal framework, she could control the chaos. But there was no framework for this. No template for your best friend manipulated you into leaving the father of your child and then married him 6 years later. Madison closed the laptop. Outside, Chicago glittered, the city she'd loved, the city she'd run from, the city she might have to share now, with Ethan, with the past she'd tried to bury. She looked at Henry, his dark curls spread across the pillow, his small hand curled into a fist. "Did I do the right thing?" she whispered to the sleeping boy. 6 years ago? Today? Any of it? Henry slept on, offering no answers. Madison lay down beside him and stared at the ceiling until exhaustion finally pulled her under. Then Claire's apartment. 10:33 p.m. The wedding dress lay crumpled on the floor where Claire had stepped out of it. Thousands of dollars of silk and lace, custom-fitted, perfect. Ruined. Claire sat on her couch in sweatpants and an old t-shirt, mascara smudged, hair still pinned in the elaborate updo that had taken 2 hours to create. She couldn't bring herself to take it down. Reality was settling in, heavy and suffocating. The wedding was over before it started. Ethan was gone. Madison knew everything. And Claire had no idea who she was anymore. Her phone lit up. Another text from her mother. "What happened? Everyone's talking. Call me." Claire turned the phone face down. On the coffee table, her laptop was open to Facebook, an old photo album from college. Her and Madison, sophomore year, drunk on cheap wine, laughing at something that didn't matter. They'd been real friends then, hadn't they? Claire traced a finger over Madison's face in the photo. When had it changed? When had friendship curdled into envy? When had she started keeping score? Maybe it was that night junior year, when Claire had brought a guy back to their shared apartment and heard him leave Madison's room instead the next morning. Or the summer Madison got the internship Claire had wanted. Or every time someone told Claire she was pretty but looked at Madison like she was art. Small cuts, tiny resentments, until one day Claire had looked at her best friend and seen only everything she wanted and couldn't have. She closed the laptop, stood up, walked to the bathroom, and finally unpinned her hair. In the mirror, she barely recognized herself. When had she become this person? When had winning become more important than being good? Claire didn't have answers. Only the hollow echo of an empty apartment and a ruined wedding dress on the floor. The next morning, Lakefront Park, 10 a.m. Madison arrived early, Henry's hand in hers. The park was quiet. Sunday morning, a few joggers, an elderly couple feeding ducks by the water. Neutral territory, public, safe. Ethan had texted last night. Simple, direct. Can we talk? Just the three of us. No pressure. Please. Madison had stared at the message for 20 minutes before responding. Lakefront Park, 10 a.m. Henry comes with me. Of course. Thank you. Now she sat on a bench, Henry beside her, watching the path. Is my dad coming? Henry asked. The words still felt surreal. My dad? Yes, baby. Are you mad at him? Madison considered the question. It's complicated. You say that a lot. I know. I'm sorry. Henry swung his legs, heels kicking the bench. I'm scared. Me too. Really? Really. Henry seemed comforted by this. He leaned against her side, and she wrapped an arm around him. They waited. 3 Ethan appeared on the path. Jeans, a northwestern sweatshirt, sunglasses, casual clothes that made him look younger, more like the man Madison had fallen in love with. He carried a cardboard coffee carrier. When he reached the bench, he stopped, uncertain. Hi, he said. Hi, Madison replied. Henry waved shyly. Ethan's face broke into a smile. Hi, Henry. He held out the coffee carrier. I brought coffee. Vanilla oat milk latte. If you still drink that. Madison's throat tightened. I do. She took the cup. Their fingers brushed. 6 years collapsed into that tiny point of contact. Ethan sat on the opposite end of the bench. Careful distance. Respectful space. Henry sat between them. A small bridge. What do you like to do? Ethan asked his son. Henry considered the question seriously. I draw. Mom says I'm good at it. Yeah? Ethan's voice was soft, interested. What do you draw? Buildings and cars and dinosaurs. I used to draw buildings too, Ethan said. That's kind of what I do now. I design them. Henry's eyes widened. You build things? Sort of. I make the plans, and then other people build them. That's cool. Henry paused. Can you show me? Absolutely. Ethan pulled out his phone, scrolling through photos of projects. Skyscrapers, hotels, office complexes. Henry leaned closer, fascinated. Madison watched them. Father and son, two strangers finding common ground. Her heart ached. After a while, Henry wandered toward the duck pond, staying within eyesight. Madison and Ethan sat in charged silence. Finally, Madison spoke. I can't undo 6 years. Neither can you. I know. Ethan's voice was rough. But I want to try. I want to earn the next 60. He's my priority, Madison said firmly. Not you. Not us. Not whatever this is. Him. I know, Ethan said again. He should be. Madison, I'm not asking to erase what happened. I'm asking for a chance to be his father. What about your company? The question came out sharper than intended. Your meetings? Your late nights? Your entire life that couldn't make room for me? Ethan turned to face her fully. I have a COO who's been begging for more responsibility for 3 years, he said quietly. I've been so afraid of losing control that I couldn't see I was losing everything that mattered. Ethan, I finally understand, he continued. None of it matters if I lose this, lose him, lose the chance to know my son. Madison studied his face, looking for lies, for empty promises. She only saw sincerity and fear. He was terrified, just like her. This doesn't fix us, she said softly. I know. I don't know if anything can. I know that too. They sat in silence, watching Henry throw rocks into the pond. But maybe, Ethan said finally, we can figure out how to be his parents, even if we can't figure out how to be anything else. Madison's eyes burned with tears she refused to let fall. Maybe, she whispered. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't reconciliation. But it was a beginning. And for now, that had to be enough. My beautiful family, this is where it gets real. Should Madison give Ethan a second chance, or is 6 years too long to forgive? Drop your honest thoughts below. I'm reading every single comment. And if this story is touching your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Hit that like button and subscribe because this journey is far from over. Week 1. Testing waters. Shed. Aquarium. Saturday afternoon. Madison had insisted on coming. Not because I don't trust you, she'd said that morning, watching Ethan pick up Henry. Just, it's new. For everyone. Ethan had nodded, understanding the subtext. I'm not ready to let him go completely. Now she trailed 10 feet behind as Ethan and Henry moved through the darkened corridors of the aquarium, blue light washing over their faces. Henry pressed his nose against the glass of the Caribbean Reef exhibit, pointing at a sea turtle. Look how big it is. That's a green sea turtle, Ethan said, crouching beside him. They can live to be 80 years old. Older than you, much older than me. Henry giggled. The sound made Madison's chest ache. They moved to the next exhibit, jellyfish, floating like ghosts in electric blue water. Ethan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, frowned, and put it away without responding. Henry noticed. Was that important? Nothing's more important than this, Ethan said simply. Henry considered this. Then, so naturally Madison almost missed it, he slipped his small hand into Ethan's. Ethan froze, looked down at their joined hands. His expression crumbled for just a moment before he got control of it. Come on, Henry said, tugging. The penguins are this way. The penguin exhibit. 20 minutes later, they stood at the viewing window, watching rockhoppers waddle and dive. Did you know penguins mate for life? Ethan said. What's that mean? It means when they find their partner, they stay together, forever. Henry watched the penguins. Like you and Mom? The question hung in the air. Madison, standing behind them, held her breath. Ethan glanced back at her. Their eyes met. That's complicated, buddy. Mom says that a lot. She's usually right. A penguin belly flopped into the water. Henry laughed, delighted, and the tension broke. But Madison's heart was already cracking open, watching Ethan learn her son, their son, learning his allergies over lunch when Henry carefully checked his sandwich for peanuts, learning his favorite color when Henry insisted on a green souvenir from the gift shop, learning his fears when thunder rumbled outside and Henry instinctively moved closer to Ethan's side. 6 years of information downloaded in a single afternoon, and Ethan absorbed all of it like he was memorizing gospel. Meanwhile, Madison's hotel. Tuesday morning. The legal papers arrived via courier. Madison signed for the envelope, confused. She wasn't expecting anything. Inside, a lawsuit. Formal. Typed on expensive letterstock. Claire Donovan v. Ethan J. Blackwell. Breach of promise. Compensation for public humiliation, emotional distress, and financial damages resulting from cancelled wedding ceremony. Madison's hands shook as she read. Claire was demanding $2 million and threatening to go public with what she called a pattern of parental abandonment and deception. Her phone rang. Ethan, did you get papers? His voice was tight. Yes. My lawyer says she has no case, but she can make a lot of noise. Drag this out. Make it ugly. She's threatening to go to the press about Henry. I know. A pause. Madison, I'm done being afraid of the truth. Let her try. We're not hiding anymore. Ethan, I should have said that 6 years ago. Should have fought for you instead of letting you disappear. I'm not making that mistake again. Madison closed her eyes. This is going to get messy. I know. But we're in it together this time. If you'll let me be. She looked at the papers. At Claire's signature, sharp and angry at the bottom. Together, she said quietly. 2 weeks later. Henry's 6th birthday was approaching. They were sitting in a coffee shop neutral territory for their co-parenting discussions when Ethan brought it up. I want him overnight, for his birthday. Madison's coffee cup froze halfway to her mouth. Overnight? At my place. I'll make breakfast, pancakes if he wants. We can watch movies, play games. Ethan leaned forward. Madison, I need to learn how to be his dad when you're not there. What if he has nightmares? He gets them sometimes, and he only wants me. Then I'll call you. I promise. You can come get him any time. What if he needs his stuffed elephant? He can't sleep without. I'll make sure he has it. Ethan, I don't know if I'm ready. I know. His voice was gentle. But he needs this. Needs to know I'm someone he can count on. Not just for aquarium trips. For the hard stuff too. Madison's throat tightened. She'd been alone for 6 years. Henry had been hers, only hers for every nightmare, every fever, every scared moment in the dark. Sharing that felt like losing a piece of herself. But she looked at Ethan's face and saw only sincerity and love. Okay, she whispered, but you call me if anything goes wrong. I will. Meanwhile, Madison's hotel room, Friday night. Madison paced. Henry had been at Ethan's for 3 hours. She'd checked her phone 14 times. No calls, no texts, no emergency summons. She tried to read, couldn't focus. Tried to work, her hands shook too much to edit photos. Tried to sleep at 9 p.m. Gave up at 10. At 11:47 p.m., her phone finally buzzed. A photo from Ethan. Henry asleep on Ethan's chest. Both of them on the couch. A paused dinosaur movie on the TV. Henry's mouth slightly open, one small hand clutching Ethan's shirt. The caption, "We fell asleep watching dinosaur movies. He's perfect. Thank you for trusting me with him." Madison stared at the photo until her vision blurred. Then she set the phone down and cried. Not from sadness, from relief, from hope, from the terrifying possibility that maybe, just maybe, this could actually work. Therapist's office. Wednesday afternoon. Madison hadn't been to therapy in 4 years, but after the overnight, after watching Ethan slowly become part of Henry's life, after feeling her carefully constructed walls beginning to crack, she knew she needed help. Dr. Reeves was in her 50s, kind-eyed, patient. Tell me what brought you here today. Madison twisted her hands in her lap. I'm scared. Of what? That if I let him in again, I'll disappear. I'll become just Ethan's partner again, just an accessory to his life. You built a successful business, raised a child alone, moved to a new city and created a life from nothing. Doctor, Reeves leaned forward. That doesn't vanish because you let someone in. But what if he doesn't change? What if 6 weeks from now, he's back to 18-hour days and I'm alone again? What if he does change? Dr. Reeves' voice was gentle. What if you're denying yourself happiness because you're afraid of a past that might not repeat itself? Madison was quiet for a long moment. You're not 24 anymore, Dr. Reeves continued. You're not the woman who ran. You're stronger now. You have boundaries. You have a voice. Use it. What if I mess this up? What if you don't? The question settled over Madison like a blanket. What if she didn't? Henry's 6th birthday. Chicago Children's Museum. Ethan had texted 3 weeks before the party. What does Henry actually want for his birthday? Not what I think would be impressive. What would make him happy? Madison had stared at the message, surprised. Most people would have thrown money at the problem, rented out a venue, hired entertainers, made it spectacular. Ethan was asking what Henry wanted. He loves the Children's Museum, the dinosaur exhibit especially. Can we rent it out? He'd hate that. Too much attention. He'd rather just go with a few friends and explore. Then that's what we'll do. Now Madison stood in the museum lobby, watching Henry run between exhibits with 3 friends from school. Ethan had arranged everything, coordinated with the museum staff, ordered Henry's favorite cake chocolate with green frosting, invited Madison's colleagues so he could meet the people in her life, and he stayed in the background, not dominating, not taking over, just supporting. When Henry wanted to show him the T-Rex exhibit for the 3rd time, Ethan went. When Madison's friend asked about his business, he gave brief answers and redirected conversation to her photography. When Henry's friend's mom tried to flirt, he politely excused himself and helped Henry with a puzzle. He was present, attentive, but not the center of attention. He was learning to fit into their world instead of expecting them to fit into his. Birthday cake. 3 p.m. They gathered around a table in the museum cafe. Henry in the center, paper crown crooked on his head, 6 candles flickering on green frosting. Everyone sang. Henry beamed. "Make a wish," Madison said. Henry squeezed his eyes shut, thought hard, then opened them and said, completely serious, "I wished Dad could stay forever." The table went quiet. Ethan's eyes found Madison's across the table. In that look, 6 years of pain, 6 weeks of hope, a question neither of them knew how to answer yet. Henry blew out the candles. Everyone cheered, but Madison and Ethan were still staring at each other, and something was shifting. Outside, the museum, 6:30 p.m. The party was over. Henry was asleep in Madison's car, exhausted and happy. Ethan walked Madison to her vehicle. Chicago evening settling around them, streetlights flickering on. The city alive with weekend energy. They stood in the parking lot, neither quite ready to say goodbye. "Thank you," Madison said. "For today. For making it about him. That's easy. He's incredible. He is." Silence. Charged. Heavy with things unsaid. Ethan took a breath. "I never stopped loving you. Not once in 6 years." Madison's heart stuttered. "Ethan, I know love wasn't our problem. Life was. Priorities, communication, all of it." He stepped closer. "But I'm not that man anymore, and you're not that woman. Maybe we could build something different, together, all 3 of us." Madison looked up at him, at the face she'd loved and left and never forgotten. "I'm terrified," she whispered. "Me too. What if we mess this up again? Then we'll try again, and again, until we get it right." Then, she kissed him, soft, tentative, her hands coming up to cup his face. He kissed her back, gentle and desperate and full of 6 years of longing. When they pulled apart, both were crying. "I'm not ready," Madison said. "I know. I need time. I need to know this is real. I'll give you all the time you need." Ethan's thumb brushed her cheek. "I'm not going anywhere. Not this time." Madison nodded, unable to speak. She got in her car and drove away, but in the rearview mirror, she watched Ethan stand in that parking lot until she turned the corner. Still there, still waiting. Still hers, if she could find the courage to believe it. Claire's final move. 3 days after Henry's birthday. The press conference happened without warning. Madison was editing photos when her phone started exploding. Texts, calls, emails, all at once. She opened Twitter and her blood ran cold. Blackwell scandal was trending. Claire sat at a table in a hotel conference room, makeup perfect, expression devastated. Reporters crowded around her. Madison unmuted the video, tried to protect his family, Claire was saying. Ethan Blackwell abandoned his son for 6 years. When I tried to help, to bridge that gap, to bring them back together, I became the villain. A reporter, "You're saying he knew about the child?" "I'm saying he made choices, and I tried to help him make better ones." Claire's voice broke convincingly. "I loved him. I loved that little boy. And this is how I'm repaid." The screen cut to Madison and Henry outside their hotel. A telephoto shot, Henry's face clearly visible. Billionaire's secret son revealed. The tabloid headlines were already writing themselves. Madison's apartment. That evening, a business phone wouldn't stop ringing. Potential clients cancelling, current clients asking for statements. tabloids offering money for exclusives. Madison turned it off. Henry came home from school quiet. Too quiet. "Baby, what's wrong?" He didn't answer at first. Then, "Kids at school said their parents saw stuff on TV about Dad. They said mean things." Madison's vision went red. "What kind of things?" "That he didn't want me, that he's bad." Henry's eyes filled with tears. "Is Dad bad?" "No." Madison pulled him close. "No, baby. None of this is your fault, and your dad is not bad. Some people don't understand, and they say hurtful things. Why? Because the world is complicated, and sometimes people are cruel." Henry buried his face in her shoulder and cried. And Madison made a decision. Joint statement. Released 48 hours later. From Ethan Blackwell and Madison Carter. "We are a family finding our way forward. Our story, our son's story, is ours, not yours. We ask for privacy as we navigate this together. We will not be commenting further." Simple, direct, united. The media went insane. Ethan's business took an immediate hit. 2 major clients pulled out of deals. A third delayed signing. Madison watched him field calls from his board of directors, his investors, his legal team. He declined every request to spin the story. "Tell the truth or say nothing," he said. "Those are the only options." The turning point. 1 week later, Ethan had a meeting scheduled. Major acquisition, months of negotiations, potentially worth $50 million. It conflicted with Henry's school play. Henry's role, Tree-3, literally standing in the background wearing a brown paper costume. Madison had told Ethan he didn't need to come. "It's not a big role. He'll understand." Ethan's response was immediate. "I don't care if he's playing a rock. I'm going to be there." He rescheduled the acquisition meeting. His COO nearly had a stroke. "Ethan, this could kill the deal." Then it kills the deal. School auditorium. Thursday evening. Madison sat in the audience, Henry's elephant clutched in her lap in case he needed it after. The seat beside her was empty. Ethan was late. The play started. Henry appeared on stage in his tree costume, standing perfectly still as dialogue happened around him. Madison's heart ached. He looked so small up there. Then a presence beside her. Ethan, slightly breathless, sliding into the seat. "Sorry. Traffic." "You came." "Of course I came." He pulled out his phone and started recording. On stage, Henry's one line approached. "I am a tree, strong and tall." Henry delivered it with complete seriousness. Ethan's eyes filled with tears. After the play, Henry ran to them. "Did you see me?" "You were incredible," Ethan said, sweeping him up. "The best tree I've ever seen." "Really?" "Really." Madison watched them, father and son, and something inside her finally relaxed. This was real. Meanwhile, 2 weeks after the press conference, public opinion shifted faster than Claire anticipated. Social media turned on her. People dug up her history, found patterns of manipulation. Old college acquaintances came forward with stories. Her business contacts began distancing themselves. Her family called an intervention. And one night, she showed up at Madison's door at 9:47 p.m. Madison opened the door to find Claire standing there. Not the polished society woman, just Claire. No makeup, sweatshirt, eyes red from crying. "I need to talk to you." Madison should have slammed the door, but something in Claire's face stopped her. She let her in. They sat on opposite ends of the couch, miles between them. "I convinced myself I was helping," Claire said finally. 6 years ago, I told myself you weren't strong enough for his world, that you'd both be better off apart." Madison said nothing. "Then I convinced myself I deserved him, that I'd earned him by being there when you weren't." Claire's voice cracked. "Then I don't know what I became. A person willing to destroy lives to win," Madison said quietly. "Yes." Claire looked at her hands. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm sorry, for all of it." Madison studied her former best friend. She could see the truth there. Real regret, real shame. But also, the damage was done. "I'm sorry your pain made you hurt us," Madison said, "but I can't fix that for you, Claire. You have to do that yourself." Claire nodded. "I know. I hope you find peace. I really do. But you can't find it here. I know that too." Claire stood, walked to the door, paused. "For what it's worth, you and Ethan, you were always meant to be together. I see that now." Then she left, and Madison closed the door on their friendship forever. 6 weeks later, custody was established. Joint legal custody, primary physical custody with Madison. Ethan would have Henry every other weekend and Wednesday evenings. Holidays would alternate. Financial support was arranged. Ethan insisted on more than the court ordered. Madison accepted it with conditions. Half goes into a trust for Henry's education. The rest covers his expenses. I'm still supporting myself. Ethan didn't argue. Claire's lawsuit was dismissed with prejudice. Her prenup with Ethan meant the cancelled wedding actually cost her more than him. She withdrew from public life entirely. 3 months after the wedding disaster, Madison kept her Milwaukee apartment, kept her business. Ethan didn't push for her to move to Chicago immediately. Instead, they built slowly. Every weekend she and Henry drove to Chicago. Every Wednesday evening, video calls. Ethan and Henry talking about school, about dinosaurs, about everything and nothing. It was intentional, steady, real. 6 months later, Henry had his first sleepover at Dad's house. Madison stayed in the guest room. Her choice. In the morning, she woke to voices in the kitchen. She found Ethan and Henry making pancakes together. Flour dusted across the counter. On Henry's nose. In Ethan's hair. "Dad says you have to flip them fast," Henry explained seriously. "Dad's right," Madison said, leaning against the doorframe. Ethan looked up. Their eyes met. In that look, this is what she'd needed to see. Not the grand gestures, not the apologies. Just this. Domesticity. Partnership. A father teaching his son to make pancakes on a Sunday morning. Real life. Together. 9 months later, Madison's business was thriving. She'd moved her headquarters to Chicago, expanded her client base, hired 2 assistants. She had her own apartment, not his penthouse, her independence intact, but they had keys to each other's places. Henry split time between both homes, and both felt like home. Some nights, after Henry was asleep, Madison would find herself at Ethan's, or he'd show up at hers with takeout and a movie. They weren't rushing. They were building. Slowly, carefully. Right this time, 1 year after the wedding, they were in Ethan's kitchen. Henry asleep in his room down the hall. Madison was editing photos on her laptop. Ethan was reviewing contracts at the table. Comfortable silence, shared space. "I'm thinking about expanding the Milwaukee office," Madison said. "Yeah? But keeping Chicago as home base." Ethan looked up. "Chicago as home?" Madison met his eyes. "Yeah, I think we're ready for that." Ethan's face broke into a smile. "We have time," Madison added quickly. "I'm not saying move in together tomorrow, but maybe soon." "Whenever you're ready," Ethan said. "I'm not going anywhere." Madison stood, walked around the table, kissed him softly. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too, both of you, always." Outside, Chicago glittered, the city that had broken them, the city that was healing them. And inside, a family fractured and reassembled learned how to be whole again. Not perfect, but real. And finally home. 1 year later, not a fairy tale, but real. Lakefront Park, early October. The same bench where they'd sat a year ago, where Ethan had asked for a chance, where Madison had given him one, terrified and hopeful in equal measure. Now they were back. Madison spread a blanket on the grass. Henry immediately kicked off his shoes and ran toward the duck pond, staying within the invisible boundary they'd established months ago. Ethan unpacked sandwiches from a cooler, not catered, not fancy, just food he'd made himself that morning while Henry helped by eating half the turkey slices. It was ordinary. It was perfect. Madison settled on the blanket beside Ethan, watching Henry chase pigeons with the fearless joy of a 7-year-old who knew both his parents were watching. "He's gotten so big," Ethan said quietly. "I know. I keep waiting for it to slow down." "Does it?" "Not yet." They sat in comfortable silence. A year ago, silence between them had been heavy with unsaid things. Now it was just peaceful. Ethan took a breath. "Let it out slowly." "I've been thinking," he said. Madison tensed slightly. She knew that tone. "About what?" "About this. Us." He turned to face her fully. "I want to try this. Really try. Not just co-parenting. Not just dating when it's convenient. I want a life. Together. All three of us." Madison's heart kicked up. "Ethan, I'm not asking you to marry me," he said quickly. "I'm not even asking you to move in tomorrow. I'm just asking, do you want this too? Enough to build something real?" She looked at him, really looked, at the man who'd learned to leave work at 5 p.m. 3 days a week, who'd turned down a board position to coach Henry's soccer team, who'd shown up to every school event, every birthday, every ordinary Tuesday evening for a year, at the man who'd proven, day after day, that he'd changed. "I'm terrified," she whispered. "So am I. What if we mess it up again? Then we figure it out. Together." Ethan's hand found hers. "Madison, I can't promise we won't fight. I can't promise it'll be easy. But I can promise I'll choose you. Every day. You and Henry. Over everything else." Madison's eyes burned. A year ago, she would have run from this conversation. But she wasn't that woman anymore, I think. She paused, gathered courage. "Yes, let's try, really try." Ethan's face broke into a smile that rivaled the Sunday. He kissed her, soft and sweet, while Henry made exaggerated gagging sounds from the duck pond. They pulled apart, laughing. "Come here, buddy," Ethan called. Henry ran over, launching himself onto the blanket between them. "Are you guys being gross again?" "Very gross," Madison confirmed. "Ugh." But Henry was smiling. He wedged himself between them, content. They sat there, three people who'd found each other through pain and stayed through choice, and watched the ducks. No dramatic music, no sweeping declarations. Just a family, stitched together from broken pieces, learning how to be whole. That evening, Ethan's apartment. After Henry fell asleep in Ethan's guest room, his room, with dinosaur sheets and glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling, Madison and Ethan sat on the balcony. Chicago spread out before them, the city where they'd fallen in love, broken apart, found their way back. "Do you think we would have made it?" Madison asked. "If everything had been different? If I'd stayed?" Ethan considered. "Honestly, probably not. Not then." "No? We were too young, too stubborn. I was too ambitious, and you were too afraid to demand what you needed." He squeezed her hand. "We needed to break, to learn how to bend." Madison rested her head on his shoulder. "I like who we are now better." "Me too." They sat in silence, watching the city lights blink on one by one. The victory wasn't a wedding ring. It wasn't moving in together or some grand romantic gesture. The victory was this: Henry knowing both his parents loved him, seeing them work together, communicate, choose each other daily. Madison keeping her business, her independence, her identity, while still building a partnership. Ethan learning that balance wasn't weakness, that leaving work early wasn't failure, that being present was its own form of success. Two people who'd broken each other, learning, slowly and imperfectly, how to heal together. That was the real love story. Later that night, Henry had fallen asleep between them on the couch, mouth open slightly, one hand still clutching a toy dinosaur from Ethan. A movie played on mute. Pizza boxes littered the coffee table. It was messy and domestic and perfect. Madison shifted slightly, trying not to wake Henry when Madison's phone buzzed on the table. She almost ignored it, but something made her check. Unknown number. She opened the message. "Congratulations on your family. You both deserved a second chance. Be well. C." Madison stared at the screen. Claire. Somewhere out there. Starting over. Making peace. "Everything okay?" Ethan asked. Madison showed him the message. They read it together in silence. Then, without a word, Madison deleted it. Ethan nodded. Good call. Some chapters needed to close quietly. Some people needed to exit your story so you could write the next page. Claire had done enough damage, but she'd also inadvertently given them the push they needed to finally get it right. Madison didn't owe her forgiveness, but she could give her this, permission to move on. They all could. I love you, Madison whispered, her head resting against Ethan's shoulder. I love you too, he responded. Henry shifted in his sleep, mumbling something about dinosaurs. They both smiled. Outside, Chicago glittered, the city that had tested them, broken them, rebuilt them. And inside, a family forged from mistakes and second chances held each other close. Not perfect, not a fairy tale, but real. And finally whole. Family. Love isn't about perfect timing. It isn't about perfect people or perfect circumstances. It's about broken people choosing to heal together, choosing to stay when it's hard, choosing to build something real instead of something pretty. Ethan and Madison lost 6 years. 6 years they can never get back. 6 years of memories they'll never make. But in losing those years, they found themselves. They found strength, independence, the ability to stand alone so they could choose to stand together. Claire had wanted to win, to claim a prize, to prove she deserved the fairy tale. But Ethan and Madison learned something Claire never understood. Love isn't a prize you win, it's a choice you make. Every single day, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. They chose each other, not because it was easy, not because it was perfect, but because it was real. And sometimes often that's the greatest love story of all. Not the one that never breaks, but the one that breaks and heals and becomes stronger in the mending. My beautiful family, we've reached the end of this journey. Tell me honestly, did they make the right choice? Would you have forgiven? Drop your truth in the comments. I want to hear every perspective. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs hope. Hit that like button, subscribe to this family, and remember your own story isn't over. The next chapter begins when you decide to write it.